Everybody. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the December 16th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I don't know where 2025 has gone, but it just seems like it was 2023 yesterday, and now we're going to 2026. So I don't know what that. You guys are all getting older. So I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand and join us in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we ask your blessings upon our meeting tonight. Grant us wisdom and patience as we work together for the common good of our city. We ask for peace throughout the world as we celebrate the holy seasons of Christmas and Hanukkah. Help us all work together to help those in need and remember those less fortunate than ourselves. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So those of you who are visiting us for the first time or who don't routinely visit us, we have a tradition here. We call it a tradition. It's fairly new. A couple years we've been doing this, whereby we begin each meeting with an interesting or we call it fun. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're not. But some type of interesting historical fact about our city or the region. And so tonight that duty falls to Councilmember Chambers. And he never disappoints because he's lived so much of Temple Terrace history.
Is that a compliment? I don't know. Okay. All right. My topic tonight is the Temple Terrace Police Explorer Program. That program restarted last month. This is the flyer that they had. They had an open house at the Public Works Building on the 20th of November, and that was very successful and got the program started. The program provides experience in law enforcement. They learn all kinds of different aspects of law enforcement. They learn leadership skills, and then at times they help out the police department with special events and stuff. Again, this program just restarted. It's also affiliated with the Scouts of America, and it's for ages 14 to 21. And I said it restarted. The first post was founded in 1973, and it went until 2003. Our post was very, very strong here. It met on Tuesday evenings and Saturdays during the day. The Tuesday meetings took place at the former Abbey Apartments, which are now known as Southern Cove. The Saturday training was conducted at the police department. They competed in state and different competitions and won the state competition one time. Now they had advisors. Police department members were advisors to the post, and some of our advisors included currently Greg Pauley, still with us, Patty Stanton, and Michael Antonitis. And then we've had some of our cadets have gone on into careers in law enforcement. And one in our department that was Temple Terrace police officer, Carl Avery Cooper. Also Temple Terrace, Nick Dickman. Chuck Philippi was a corporal with Temple Terrace. John Spalla was a sergeant with Temple Terrace. Ruth Kate became the assistant chief for Tampa Police Department. And our last notable cadet going into the police department, this is a picture of him in the police department as a cadet. And of course, currently, Chief Staley. So so you can see it's a very, it was a very good program back then, and I hope the current one goes to the same success.
Thank you. That was very good. That was fun and interesting. So
okay.
See, you still have a perfect record of not disappointing. So thank you. So next, I'd like to invite Raquel Ruiz to the podium, please. This is always a fun part of the meeting. The beginning is always great in the meeting. So many of you know Raquel from the Family Recreation Complex. Raquel is being recognized as the Employee of the Month for the month of November. She's demonstrated exceptional dedication and leadership through the E-Track Migration Project, taking on responsibilities far beyond the scope of her customer service role. In addition to managing her regular duties, which include providing excellent customer service, supporting customer relations, and training team members at the front desk. Raquel also has naturally stepped into the role of the Parks and Recs Division System Liaison. She's provided essential training, troubleshooting support, and operational insight, ensuring the team's success and serving as a reliable point of contact for the municipal systems and process administrator. Raquel's initiative, expertise, and unwavering commitment to both daily operations and major projects make her an extremely valuable employee. Besides all the work Raquel is doing for the E-Track migration project, she's also devoted her lunch hour for several years to leading a spin class for her fellow employees. And I could recognize some of you who I've seen at that class, and she will leave you on the floor, I will tell you. She will, and I think she takes it out on me a little bit when I go there. Yeah. She's the kind of person who quietly elevates an entire workplace with her energy, and that is true for those of you who work there. She gives her time and her encouragement not because she has to, but because she genuinely wants others to feel stronger, healthier, and more connected. All that she gets from the many hours she has devoted to helping her fellow employees is the satisfaction that she's doing her part to promote a healthy workplace. She is a strong reminder that one person's commitment can make everybody's day a little bit better. And so all of us who work here at the city would really like to congratulate Raquel for being selected as the November Employee of the Month. And so thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words?
Definitely not expected. I just do my thing every day, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
She's a woman of few words, even at the rec center.
Thank
I don't know about at home, though. Is that true?
You bet. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. You live with it.
You have to stand on both sides of this black strip.
Perfect. All right, 3, 2, 1. Awesome, thank you.
Carl. Okay, hold on 1 second, Mary.
Can we all scoot over just a little bit? Perfect. All right, 3, 2, 1. Got it. Thank you.
Council members, have everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of our December 2nd meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The minutes are adopted. Next, we have public comment. This section is for persons wishing to be heard on items on the consent agenda or items not on the agenda. Requests to address the mayor and council are in the back of the chambers on that little table back there. Please complete them. Give them to the city clerk to my left and your right. We have a 30-minute time limit for this portion of the meeting. I don't think we're going to approach that. We don't usually, but if necessary, we stop at 30 minutes so we can continue with the meeting, and then we resume the public comment at the end of the meeting, and we go on for however long it takes. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on all speakers. We do ask that speakers come to the podium, state their name and city of residence, please. During public comment, we like to assure everybody that the city manager, the council members in attendance, and all the directors do make note of this and follow up on all of your concerns. Our first request to speak is Charles Loeb. Mr. Loeb, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Happy holiday. Nice to see a nice crowd here. I do want to delve into the holidays. First of all, of course, tonight's the third night of Hanukkah, and of course, Christmas is coming up, and so is New Year's before the next meeting. I also want to go a little further in dealing with holidays. I was thinking about the middle of February. Middle of February, Saturday, February 14th will be Valentine's Day. Monday, February 16th will be President's Day. 17th will be your council meeting, but most people probably would not know about the 18th. The 18th has several holidays. The first one, the most important one probably in my opinion, is the beginning of Ramadan for the Muslim people. Also, it's new moon for Jewish people, and it's Ash Wednesday for Christians, all on the same day. I have to make a very brief comment about what happened in Australia. A couple of them. First of all, it amazes me the technology that we can find out even before Hanukkah begins here, what happened in Australia there, about the tragedy there. There is a reminder that what death separates, but it also unites, and that what doesn't harm you personally can make you stronger. I did want to go a little bit into a couple of topics having to do with the city. And that first is the Joe Latino Center, because I go over there regularly and see how they're doing. They seem to be doing pretty well as of now. But again, starting January, some people will not be getting their benefits. So I want you all to keep that in mind. I also have a couple of comments about the library. First of all, we were told, and I assume, that they did the demolition on the bathrooms finally. Today and yesterday. That's what was on the schedule. The thing I was wondering if the city manager has the schedule for when they're going to start working on the new bathrooms. For now, they're going to be using portables. But when the city manager has a schedule for when they're going to start working and putting up the new bathrooms, maybe we can inform us. And the other thing is that I thought about last time is about using all the digital billboards for library events. The library's digital billboard does have the library's events, but it doesn't seem like the digital billboards throughout the city have the library's events on them. And again, I want to wish everybody one more time, staff, people who are in the audience and council, and a very happy holiday, and of course, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Next this person signed up is Lucas Hutchins. Mr. Hutchins, welcome, sir. And Angel Haid, has ceded your time. Mr. Haid, is your intent to cede your time to Mr. Hutchins? Yes. Okay, so very good. Mr. Hutchins, that'll give you 4 minutes, sir.
Okay, my name's Lucas Hutchins, and I live in the Riverbound subdivision. Most people know me as the Crazy Christmas Guy. I'm here today because I'm disappointed in the city of Temple Terrace. The decorations are very lacking. If you go to other cities, the cities are coming together. We're supposed to be a small town. We're supposed to do stuff as a small town, and that's not here no more. We don't have that in Temple Terrace. There's like no decorations. The city looks depressing. I mean, I'm doing all the work, and I live in one subdivision. The city needs to start doing their own thing. I mean, the Winter Wonderland was all right, but every other city does so many things. They do parades, they do the towns, the downtowns are all decorated, they've got decorations on the poles, there's events that the city's held. We don't do anything here. It's depressing to live in Temple Terrace, and it's sad. And this younger generation, we're all seeing just what lacklusters we've got going on here. I want to start seeing more things here in Temple Terrace. We need to start becoming the smaller city that we used to be. We've got decorations. We need to put funds into putting them up and doing things. I want to see the city come back. It's depressing. I do a lot in my subdivision, and we're a very small-oriented community. We do block parties and all kinds of things, which is something that the city we used to do things as a city. I mean, I like the fact that we did the food truck thing last week. That was an effort. But my problem I'm noticing is that there was no holiday theme in that. This is a holiday season. There should have been like hot chocolate, cookies. Santa should have came out, which like we did at the Winter Wonderland. There should have been a Christmas tree down there. Things to bring the community together. People aren't going to come here if we're not doing stuff for them to come here. See, I don't come out to Temple Terrace when I live here, but when I'm going to do things, I go to other cities and to enjoy their decorations, to enjoy what they're doing for the season. We don't do that here. It's like I go to Lakeland, we go to Pinellas Park, Plant City. The cities have beautiful displays, Christmas trees and all kinds of things. It doesn't always have to be Christmas related, but they're doing something for the holidays. And that's what we're not doing here. I want to start seeing a change here in Temple Terrace. It's depressing. And it's like I'm going to point out this whole 100-year century party was kind of a letdown. I think you guys kind of boasted it up to be a very big thing, and this is 100 years of Temple Terrace, and it was a huge letdown. I think there should have been more. There was a lot of disorganization. You know, the River Jam was pretty good, but other than that, I mean, I think like there should have been a lot more. The 4th of July parade, we've always done every year, so there wasn't much different to that. But we need to start becoming back as the small city that we were. I'm just very disappointed. I'm very let down with what we've got here. I'm a younger person, and we have a lot of younger people in Temple Terrace. We've got people that want to, you know, donate their time and help and get out there. So if we need volunteers in that, we can do that. But I want to see Temple Terrace come back to the small town that it was. Because Christmas is a big thing, but not just Christmas, the holiday season is a big thing for me. I like community-oriented, having fun and going out and seeing things. And that's what Temple Terrace was. You know, and it's just sad to see what we're in. I'm at this state where either I'm going to move somewhere else where they have that, or I'm going to fight to try to bring back what we had here. I want to see a change, so that's all. All right, thank you so much.
Your next person is Sean Rhodes. Good evening, Mr. Rhodes.
Evening. So my name is Sean Rhodes. I'm a disabled Marine Corps combat veteran, a 12-year resident of Temple Terrace, and the father of a young daughter who passes a home on Sunnyside Road every day, a road with a school bus stop on it. Across from that stop, a resident has put out a political sign that uses a vulgar term for a female dog, a word that none of us would politely speak in this chamber. Every child at that bus pickup, every child who passes by, including my daughter, is forced to see it. I'm here today not about political expression, but rather about our law and our unwillingness to enforce it even after multiple complaints. Temple Terrace Code is clear on this issue. City Code 12-963 states that signs containing obscene, indecent, or immoral words are prohibited. And that signs harmful to the health, safety, and general welfare of the public are also prohibited. It's been brought to the attention of city code enforcement, yet this sign remains. And there's no ambiguity here. A profane word facing a school bus stop pickup is indecent and harmful to minors, yet this sign remains. Some might question whether this word is actually obscene. Florida Statute 847.001 has settled that for us, defining obscene language as anything that is patently offensive to prevailing adult standards with respect to what is suitable material for minors. If my child encountered this word in a school book, it would be removed from the school library. If she said it in a classroom setting, she would be disciplined, and rightly so. But on our public streets, directly across from a school bus stop, apparently, this sign can remain. Some might claim this is protected political speech, but the Supreme Court has already addressed this, especially as it pertains to anything visible to minors. In FTC v. Pacifica Foundation, a 1978 case, it was determined that the government may restrict indecent language to protect children. This is not a First Amendment issue. I see it as an indecency issue, and the law is overwhelmingly on the side of regulating it. So the real question in my mind becomes, why hasn't it been addressed, and what kind of city do we want Temple Terrace to be? If this city council allows this sign to remain, despite violating city code, state law, and federal precedent, not to mention common decency, you are declaring that profanity openly visible to minors on our streets is acceptable, and that public indecency is something that we are willing to tolerate. The council doesn't want to be on the side of exposing minors to indecency in the name of politics. I urge the mayor and the honorable council here to direct code enforcement to enforce the ordinances that you've already passed and sworn to uphold and protect the children of this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. The next order. The next person signed up is Ken Tozier. Good evening, Mr. Tozier.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council people, staff. It was very interesting. Two interesting comments just prevailed. One is looking for something to occur here in the city, which is Christmas. And we have 10 days before the 25th. And there's enough time, you could put a Christmas tree in that lot you'd like to sell south of Bush Boulevard on the east side of 56th Street. There are some lights on this building, but not very many. And as you drive up and down 56th Street, all you see are commercial. There's a lot of lights, but it's all commercial lights. And I am of the opinion that the city should step up and do something to enrich the people of the city of Temple Terrace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tozier. Okay, order, folks. Okay, we have some more people that have come in. Next signed up is Kathleen, is it Wow? Whoa? Kathleen? Okay. Welcome.
My name is Karen Waugh, like Linebaugh, and I hope you'll give me a minute. I couldn't get my printer to work, and so I'm having to work off my phone at the moment. Honorable members of Temple Terrace City Council, I thank you for this opportunity. I'm here as a 23-year resident, and before that, a 47-year holiday visitor prior to that, to this beautiful little city on the river. We've always treasured what we found in Temple Terrace. We've come here for the people as much as the climate, the tax-paying residents who love this city, and I have some very important questions for you. For the first time in memory, there are no holiday decorations on 56th Street in December. Thus far, this group has given no concrete explanation for that neglect. Supposedly, the 100-year city celebration budget took all the money that would have gone to put up the holiday decor that the city still has, even though a private citizen offered to pay to have those items placed along 56th Street. I'm happy to confess to you that I'm a Christian, but you should know that my family and I do not celebrate Christmas as a religious holiday, but one of joy for children and happiness and kindness to all men, no matter what they consider the holiday to be. It is certainly right to mark 100 years of Temple Terrace, and we are glad that you did. But we, your voters, ask at what cost? To drop a celebration 10 times the age of this city seems at best a very poor decision on an event celebrated by this city longer than the 70 years of which I'm aware. As elected representatives, are you believably blind to the social media anger and quiet voter outrage over Temple Terrace's lack of holiday decor on 56th Street this season? I know you have been asked about this before in this chamber, but no definitive and believable answers have yet been given. The voters are left with only two possible conclusions. One, there's a question of malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance in the incredibly poor judgment to fail to fund something that heretofore was spent for more than 70 years. The difference in those charges comes from the fact that even though, without funding, you refuse to allow a private citizen to pay for installation of decor now sitting in a warehouse. That seems a glaringly purposeful omission. Number two, if this is not an appalling budget management, we must wonder if Temple Terrace leaders are more sensitive to the growing number of 56th Street real estate owners of the Muslim faith. Are their tax dollars more important to you than the non-Muslim voters of Temple Terrace? It is one of these two reasons, and your long and determined silence on this gives us no other explanations. Your voters are interested in the answers here on record, as will be the Florida Commission on Ethics. Unlike most every other city in this nation, why are there no holiday lights on 56th Street in 2025? We await your answer. Thank you for your time.
Tara McDaniel?
Well, hello again. I've been resident since, 1992. I went to Florida College, live on Courtney. So I also would like to ask kind of what happened? Where are the decorations? They used to be, the stem things on the poles. Those are gone. Are they missing? All of a sudden, when we made a comment, there was 2 or 4, maybe 6 little flags placed out. That's wonderful. And 2 wreaths here. That's great. The thing is you're missing the point of what it actually means. I went to Newport Richie's parade over the weekend. You wouldn't imagine the amount of people that were there. It brought in business. Do you know how much money that this gentleman brings in to our town? Have you even drove by to see the lines and lines and lines of people that go there? That's an expense for them. They're paying the electric bill, okay? So not only are you getting people exposed to him and that area, brings people to Temple Terrace. It brings money to Temple Terrace. You're missing the point. So it's not about decorations. So it's about this city doesn't seem to want to bring in anything that we've done in the past. Where is it? And I still haven't gotten an answer. I can get faces looking at me, but I get no answers. And we've still got no answers. You've got people that want to help. I can round up people quicker than you think I can. Him and I together could probably decorate the whole city. And we could probably get donations. I've got stuff I throw out all the time. I have a Buy Nothing group. I can advertise on there. No, we don't have to make it look cheesy, just a little bit. But another thing is, if you're not handling or not handling, I don't want to use that word. If you're not taking this into consideration, something small, then how can we trust that you're going to take care of anything big? i.e. the water as well. So I am very vocal about that. My children enjoy it, but I go to different cities as well. So my business is not here that night. I ate in Newport Richey. We have a lot of great things here. We have a lot of great things coming in. But if you can't, our city is just not what it used to be. And it doesn't need to be that way. Utilize your people. I'll work tirelessly. You know that. I mean, he knows how I arranged the huge King High School event. I had over 12,000 people there and raised $50,000 for the band. I was there all day. I organize things like that. I'd be happy to take on that. I'll be happy to be on a committee. Is there one? Get me on it. I'll be happy to help you. So we need to get back to what Temple Terrace is, and it's just not here anymore. So you need to be thankful for this gentleman for bringing in all the business. Go by there. Go check it out.
Sir, we're not going to have outbursts in the council meeting, and we're not going to have you speaking out. If you are going to remain, which you're welcome to do, you're going to have to do so in silence.
I apologize, but it's the holidays. I have a young family, and this is exactly what I
Okay.
came to talk about.
Okay. Did you want to address the council?
Yeah, when it's my turn. I apologize.
That was the last request.
It's the energies. No, I definitely signed up before.
What's your last name, sir?
Matthews, M-A-T-H-E-W-S. King High Alumni 2012.
For item 12?
King High Alumni 2012.
Oh, I have a request from Mr. Let me go through the request I have, and you're welcome to speak, but I have Mr. Loeb, we called, Mr. Hutchins, we called, Angel Haid, we called, and he yielded his time to Mr. Hutchins. We called Sean Rhodes, Ken Tozier, Karen Waugh, and Tara McDaniel. That's all I have, sir. Would you like to fill out a form and address the council? Okay.
Point of
Okay.
order, Mr. Chair. In previous council sessions, we had this discussion at great length, and it was established that one could also address the council by a show of hands from the audience. So maybe since there are so many people who are interested in this, we ask people to raise their hand if they would still like to speak, and we'd use the other legal option that's available to allow them to do so rather than having them fill out the form.
No, Councilmember Kravitz, you brought that up before, but that's not the council rules.
I have the council rules right here. Would you like me to read from them?
Here we go.
Is that a yes or no?
No, because the council rules, because this goes into the record about who spoke, so it can be included in the minutes.
When people stand up, they're asked to introduce themselves by name, and then they provide us with the information that would go into the record.
That's quite all right, sir. You are next. Well, actually, we have to clear the point of order.
You can let him speak while I look for it, and then it will be more efficient, because right now I'm digging through these procedural rules. So if you'd like me to find it, it'll take me about 2 minutes, because I have to read them first and find what number it is.
Mr. Matthews, you are welcome, and you are recognized to speak, sir. Good evening.
First and foremost, let me apologize for looking a hot mess, but one thing I enjoy being able to do, I love Tampa. Temple Terrace is and has always been my home. So to sit here and it's a lot of things that, everybody else has already spoke about, but it's some things I think that we need to stray from because we still have a lot of homeless people and young people getting involved in things that make our environment uncomfortable to the point where people don't want to go out or bring their kids around. And I can honestly say that because I have a 3-year-old and I have a soon-to-be 1-year-old within less than 2 weeks. So to sit here and both our birthdays are New Year's or we're winter babies. It sucks to sit there. I don't want to go to Busch Gardens. I don't want to go to Venture Island. I want to go to the riverwalk that we have in Temple Terrace, but there's so many people that, whether I know them or not, or they just familiarize themselves with, hey, he's going to give me $1. Hey, he's going to make sure to give me some food. I know he's going to look out for me. It gets to a certain point in time where you start realizing if you were to even be in that situation, Lord forbid, you can't even depend on your city council or your local politicians or whoever. A small business owner just stops and looks out. So I'm very proud to see my uncle, who used to live a very, very unnecessary lifestyle, but that's how he felt as if he was raised in his environment, have his own business and be thriving and flourishing. Because at the end of the day, and like you said, I don't like certain profanities being used, of course, especially being African American. I don't even like the fact that some of his old friends address him as their N-word, and he makes it very clear, I'm doing that part of my lifestyle, and even then, I never perceive myself as that. When I walk through Temple Terrace, I don't perceive myself as a wealthy white man. When I walk through that golf course, when I go through Tacoma Trail, North 50th Bush is where I took my first steps. So to sit there and think about how all it took was an older brother stepping that right path for everything else to fall in line, I don't even want that to be Lord forbid, an issue for my children, my sons. But I definitely want it to be something that, hey, we don't have to sit here and question where money's going to when it comes to Christmas decorations, because it kind of sucks that we got to go through neighborhoods that's not even technically Tampa just to drive through and see their decorations. And we have a way better living society. It sucks to sit there and, hey, I want to go to a USL football game. As much as I see the commercials about how we got, love the new coach, love that we beat Boise, and be made to the top 25. You know how amazing it is to sit there and actually have a conversation about, yeah, I know him. I went to school with him. Yeah, I know him. That's my buddy's nephew. Man, did you see the game? Did you go to the game? These little conversations and topics is what us as citizens and leaders of our family talk about. But one thing I definitely want to assess is the whole fact of we need to put our money where it needs to go expeditiously. Because Lord forbid anything happens, Temple Terrace is still a beautiful place, but we shouldn't get a bad reputation behind it.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. And you are welcome to come here and speak any time, and it doesn't matter how you're dressed, you're still welcome. So
Yeah, I apologize, but once
you you're welcome to come speak
had a very
anywhere.
long weekend. I just want to say I thank you guys for hearing me out, and I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we can grow together.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council? Okay. If there are none, council members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sir, before we proceed, I'd like to come back to the point of order that you wanted me to.
Councilmember Kravitz, you are recognized.
Yes, thank you. So I'm referring to Rule 18D, and I'll just read that into the record so that everyone here is on the same page. So Rule 18D says, the chair, that's you, shall recognize a citizen who wants to address the council. The citizen shall state his or her name and city of residence for the record and shall limit his or her remarks to the question or issue under discussion. All remarks shall be addressed to the entire council and not to an individual council member. Only the recognized citizen and the council members shall discuss an issue. There shall be no debate from the floor. So the thing that's missing from this provision, of course, is the piece of paper that has been routinely used to stop people from speaking when they wish to. And I personally know of at least 4 or 5 examples of people who came here and were not called up, and then the meeting proceeded, and they didn't have an opportunity to speak. So anyone who wishes to speak can ask to be recognized by the chair, and they have a legal right to be so recognized under Rule 18D of the City Council Rules of Procedure. So that is what I was referring to. And that is all. I yield the floor.
Mr. Mueller, we have, I don't have the rules in front of me. I'm assuming that he read the correct version of the rules. I don't have them in front of me. Since I've been on council, we have always used the forms. I know that it's important for the city clerk to be able to put the names of the people who speak into the record, and it's not always audible on the record. There's also a place for their contact information, which the city manager and directors use to follow up on their issues that are brought up. So, is this failure to address long-standing practice in the paragraph of the rules? Is that, where do we sit on this?
I read 18D myself, and I see that it was followed. Yes, the form is not specifically stated in here, but it's been a custom for a long time, and for all the reasons that you stated. I do not recall in the time that I've been here that anybody has been stopped from speaking because they have not filled out that form. They've been asked to fill out the form for that information in order for the city to reach back out if they had a question or whatever. But I do not see where 18D has been violated at all, and no one has ever been stopped from speaking to the city council.
I may address that point, Mr. Chair.
Hang on a second. So I'm still looking for where we are in this. Are these forms, I mean, I don't see anybody that wants to speak that has any trouble filling out the form. Nobody's raised their hand that wants to speak. But
again, the form is not specifically in the rule, but it has been a custom and it has a purpose. So, I mean, do I feel that we've had some sort of break in protocol or a break in the rules? No, I do not. I mean, people have always had the opportunity to speak, and that's what 18D speaks to.
Councilmember Kravitz wants to debate this with you. Councilmember, you're recognized.
I'm not looking to debate at all, in fact. It's not that people who wish to speak are prevented from doing so. As I mentioned earlier, it's that the meeting progresses too quickly, and they're not given an opportunity to ask to speak. So in the past, what has happened is people have come to express themselves on one or the other issue, and I have emails from constituents where they've told me this, and they weren't aware that they had to fill out the form, and I'm not able to necessarily anticipate everyone who wishes to come and speak and make sure that they have this information, and the city doesn't have anyone who disseminates this information either. So what happens in practical terms is people will come here with the intention of speaking. They won't be aware of the form. Then the meeting will proceed directly to the consent agenda, just as what was happening a minute ago. And they're not given a chance to raise their hand and ask to be recognized, which is what Rule 18D says should happen. So all I think we would need to do, because of course we don't want to prevent anyone from speaking, is we have to give people in the audience a brief opportunity to express the desire to speak, instead of relying exclusively on the forms that are filed with the city clerk that people need to know to pick up in the back if they want to go and speak. And so what we have right now is a situation where people who are coming in and becoming engaged don't know what the process is because the process is not in the rules, so they don't have anywhere to look to learn the process, and it's basically all closely held knowledge in this body, right? So it's a long-standing practice, but if you look online or if you look in the rules, you won't actually find evidence of this practice. You'd have to know by seeing other people do it. And people who are coming in here don't spend a lot of time in city council. They have jobs and they do other things, so they're not privy to all of these little nuances. So that is my point. It's not that we are preventing people from speaking, it's that we're not giving the opportunity to them to make it known that they have something to say. So that is the issue, and I yield the floor.
Well, I feel compelled to answer some of that, because here's this comment that, as I introduced this section, this is what I read a few minutes ago. Persons wishing to be heard on items on the consent agenda or items not on the agenda, requests to address the mayor and council are in the back of the chambers on that little table. Please complete the forms and give it to the city clerk to my left and to your right. I said that at the beginning of the public comment section, and then of course I read the rest of the, I don't know. I mean, I mean, council, if you want to abandon the forms and just have people come up and speak, that's up to you. I mean, I don't.
That isn't what I'm suggesting.
Yes.
I heard you say at the very end of this, after the forms were read, is there anybody in the audience that wants to address the council? You made that statement tonight. You always make that statement at the end of, before you go to the consent agenda. You make that statement, you look in the audience, and maybe sometimes the consent agenda comes up fast, but you do ask, you made that statement tonight. So you're asking, someone can raise their hand from the audience. They're given the opportunity. I don't know what was different tonight. So,
Okay.
I'm just
Mr.
saying.
Matthews, we passed public
Yes.
comment section now. You did get to speak. Yeah, no, you've already had your
Yeah.
no, sir. Not-
So, anyway, the system we've been using has worked fine for many, many years. So, I'm good.
You want to just forego the meeting and just have public comments for the next 2 hours? Is that what you want to do?
That's what a lot of, the rest of the city does,
Okay.
Temple-wise. This is more like property
Mayor goes
size.
back on track.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next, we have first reading and first public hearing of an ordinance amending the future land use of a parcel of land located south of Talina Lane, east of North 78th Street, north of Lake Island Drive, and west of Cedar Drive from residential 9 to residential 18, otherwise known as CPA-20-02. I will open the public hearing, and City Planner Joe Moreta will explain. And Unica Mills from the Planning Commission. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Joe Moretta with City Planning. I'm going to introduce Unica Mills. She's an executive planning with the Planning Commission. She's going to make the presentation. They were the lead agency reviewing the comp plan amendment. We were reviewing the implementation piece, which if the comp plan amendment gets approved, then we'll deal with it through zoning, and I can provide some context of that after her presentation. So without any further ado, Unica.
Good evening, Ms. Mills.
Good evening, Unica Mills Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present TTCPA 20-02. The applicant is bringing this application forward after some time, though there has been some time since the case was last revisited. Staff did have another opportunity to do some site visits to see if conditions had changed, and the development pattern in the area was determined by staff to not have changed much in the area. Is it on? There you go. Thank you. Again, this site is located in the southeastern portion of Temple Terrace. More specifically, it's located on the east side of 78th Street, south of Temple Terrace Highway. The application being brought forth before you this evening has been privately initiated. It's small in scale. It's approximately 3 acres, and the applicant is requesting to change a future land use designation from residential 9 to residential 18. Here is the area of the site outlined in pink. There is single-family residential over to the west. There are condominiums to the south. There's an apartment complex over to the northeast. There is a single-family home just to the northwestern portion of the site. This is the site within its current state. It's a wooded area, not developed. The single-family residential subdivision that's just to the west along 78th Street. The condominiums located to the south are within the Meadowwood condominium subdivision. And here's what some of the typical condos look like in that subdivision. And here is that single-family home that I was speaking of that's just adjacent to the, along the northwestern, boundary of the subject site. Currently, the subject site has a future land use designation of a residential 9. Other future land use classifications in the immediate area include residential 18 to the south and east, additional residential 9 to the west, residential 12 is adjacent to the north, and then the color red further north is designated commercial. Again, the applicant is requesting to change a future land use designation to residential 18. Currently, if the site were to be developed, it could potentially be developed up to 27 dwelling units. If approved, the site would have the potential to be developed up to 54 dwelling units. So there would be increase in density potential on the site. Planning Commission staff reviewed the following plan amendment for consistency with the Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan and found it to be consistent with the following objective goals and policies. Policy 1.1.6 identifies the subject site as being in an urban neighborhood as per the Temple Terrace Vision Map, and Policy 1.4.6, which states to foster different residential living choices. Goal 2 states to achieve a well-balanced combination of residential, non-residential, recreational, as well as public uses, while also preserving the character of neighborhoods. Objective 2.1 and policies 2.1.2 and 2.1.2 speak to maintaining an adequate land designated for residential and to provide a variety of residential uses. Objective 8.3, policies 8.3.1 and policy 8.3.7 speak to all new development and redevelopment having public facilities in place to serve it. Housing policy 1.2.6 encourages a variety of housing types to diversify yet maintain compatibility with single-family neighborhoods. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff recommends that TTCPA 2002 be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan, and I stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Prior to questions, we're going to a couple more steps and then say don't go too far. Mr. Morita?
Thank you, Mayor. When we got this request, it was unusual in the fact that there had been a 5-year lapse. So we discussed this with the Planning Commission. They were unable to upgrade or update their application due to the fact that there had already been a vote taken by the Planning Commission on it. So what we did is we took a look at it from the perspective of trying to update it. We sent it back to the review agencies, the school, Heartline, to see what the status, if anything, had changed. The answer we got back from the school board, Heartline, was that essentially the same. The schools have capacity. Heartline was not at capacity at that point. They indicated a need for transit, and they're still indicating the same of that. In terms of the implementation of it, the property is zoned multifamily right now. The zoning district does not have a density in it, so the maximum density would be a function of the maximum the plan would allow. However, they would have to go through a site engineering plan, which at that point they would have to provide the proper stormwater attenuation, parking, drives, any type of improvements that are necessary through site engineering. So as that utilizes space to mitigate for that, then they would potentially lose density. There is one caveat in the zoning code. For some reason, for a townhome, the site has to be a 10-acre minimum. This is a 3-acre site, more or less. So for townhomes, they would need some type of other action that would either be a waiver or whatever appropriate. We did talk to the applicant if they were planning on rezoning, because we did a pre-application conference a while back for a plan development. They indicated at this time they did not have any firm plans in terms of if they wanted to rezone or not. So they're going to use the comp plan amendment to either configure a site plan for site engineering review if this is approved pursuant to the existing zoning, or they'll evaluate whether or not it would be in their interest to seek a rezoning for some type of plan development. So having said that, we reviewed the Planning Commission's finding. We reviewed the area. There's R18 on the south and to the east of it. We feel it's a compatible category that fits within the city's plan goals in terms of their infrastructure and services, and we do agree with the Planning Commission findings. I'm available for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Morita. So is the applicant here and wishing to
Yes, sir.
Make a presentation? Good. Welcome, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you guys for taking the time. I wanted to thank the City of Temple Terrace and Hillsborough County staff for working with us and helping us through this process. I did have a presentation ready.
We just need your name for
Oh, sorry. My name is Terrace Elfallah. I'm representing the applicant and the owners today. One of the owners is my dad. I'm a resident of Temple Terrace. I'm also a licensed engineer in Florida. But I had a presentation ready. Everything that I was going to say was already stated by the staff. So unless you guys have any questions for me, then I think we're good.
Okay. Well, next step is we go to public comments, and then there may be questions from the council. So, okay. Thank you very much. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this?
Chair, are we going to have an opportunity to ask questions?
Yes, I just said that. I did just say
After
that.
public comment?
Yes, I did just say that, yes. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Yes, ma'am, please approach the podium. Just need your name for the record and city of residence for the record. Good evening.
My name is Renee Minson. I'm president of the HOA in Meadowood condominiums. What type of, we're talking 3 acres, and we can tell you pretty much it's all wetland right now. And a lot of what they're planning is going to affect adjacent property of our condominium complex. So basically, what type of structures are we talking about? Are they putting an apartment building in? I mean, 3 acres, you've got to, and you take parking, and are they going to, there's no room for retention ponds in there if you're going to build, what was it, 50 units? 54 units? Can they give us a little bit of what they truly are looking at? Because the stormwater drainage is an issue over in that area. And the weather conditions, the storms are a lot heavier now than when they even built Meadowood condominiums. We've had, we're addressing some of those issues the best we can. And if that's not handled properly, it's definitely going to affect a good number of the units in our condominium complex, not to mention the apartments that are on the front side off of Bullard Parkway there. That's the units that are mostly going to be affected. So we get a little, there was a lot of numbers and whatever's read off, but it's like reading a Greek map to understand what he was saying. So could you do that in English?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. The number that was spoken by Unique, I believe it was 54, right? 57. That's a maximum, that's a hypothetical. They're going to have to provide the appropriate stormwater compensation. They'll have to provide for the parking. They'll have to fit that within the buildings will have to, right now we don't have an engineered site plan. This is a standard district, so it doesn't require a site plan. At this level, we're looking at the comp plan, but the setbacks, which I believe are 35 feet, the height, I believe, is in the 30-ish. It depends on the typology because it has 2-family, it has multifamily, and it has triplex, I believe it is. So there's 3 different typologies in there. But at any rate, they would have to, design for any type of stormwater issues that they're going to have. The traffic would be reviewed through the engineering department, and they'd also be reviewed to be compliant with concurrency. So all the mechanisms that are in place for any type of site plan review would be in place for this when it does come through that process. And that 54 may not be achieved. It may be somewhere in the 40s, it may be somewhere in the 30s, or it may be less than that. There was some discussion when we looked at this earlier about the potential of it being a closed basin. If that's the case and they have to provide more stormwater because of their engineering, then they'll have to provide for that and they'll lose even more area then. In terms of the wetlands, those are regulated by the Environmental Protection Commission. So we'll deal with that in terms of they'll have to map it. It will be protected, and any appropriate setbacks that are in the Land Development Code would have to be adhered to unless there's some type of waiver or variance asked for. So at this juncture, we don't know in terms of the finer grain details about what is on the site, particularly in terms of a site engineering context, but that will be crossed when they do file for a site engineering plan. And then all those regulations will come to bear in terms of protecting those different resources and also providing the appropriate amount of stormwater. I don't know if that it made it any clearer or not.
We'll dig into that when we get to council questions.
All right, then. Thank you.
There's a couple of clarifications, but we're still in public comment. Ms. Rennie. Good evening.
Annette Rennie, 9512 Woodland Ridge Drive, and I'm a realtor. And I agree with the lady who's president of Meadowood. I had 3 units back there during the storms, and several of the units got flooded. We do not need any more buildings back there. the wetlands, the retention ponds flood. It's a bad idea. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Randy. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Okay, council members, questions we have for Planning Commission, our staff, or the applicant? Are there questions? Vice Mayor Schistler.
Yes, two things. Number one, I thought that was swamped back there, so I'm a little confused with it. But I have a question more for the city attorney and the city manager. Item 12C, would that not preclude this item tonight when that gets passed?
No, that would be, 12C deals with plats. This is the underlying comprehensive plan that governs that area.
Okay,
So
fine.
it's
Let's
two
make sure
different
we're not-
things.
We're not putting ourselves out in the middle of a foray. Okay, that was my biggest question on that. It was the rest of it was pretty self-explanatory.
Other questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
So, to clarify, if the city council agrees to this item tonight, what this does is actually allow the owner of this property a maximum density of R18. However, the site itself may not be feasible to build to the maximum density, but that would be determined based on bringing forward a site plan with all of the considerations required with the water retention, stormwater, however we handle stormwater, the wetlands, if they're there, if they're not there, if they have to be protected. And obviously the school board doesn't have an issue. They're counting something like a total of 7 children potentially. So all the schools that are under capacity, so that's not an issue. So is that what this action would do tonight?
This sets the ceiling. So this sets the ceiling for the density. As they come in and engineer the plan, they need to utilize more area that they can't put dwellings there. And they have to fit between a height and a setback. They have to provide, other forms of setbacks. They have to provide the parking. They have to provide drives. All those things start to eat up property. They also create more impervious surface. So they have to compensate for that, and they have to fit all that in. So this sets the ceiling at 54. They may get much less than that. How much less, we won't know until we go to a plan that's engineered and review that.
And in all of this discussion, we haven't talked at all about traffic and Bullard Parkway, because it's my understanding that that road is at capacity or beyond capacity, and how can we approve increased density when the road itself is, I don't know the actual grade that FDOT has given it, but I understand it to be a very heavily trafficked road.
In part, that will be reviewed through concurrency management. And in our engineering review, they would have the ability to seek out comments from FDOT to see if any type of additional access improvements are necessary. I can't speak directly to that process because I'm not totally familiar with it, but I do know that in engineering, there'll be an access management review, and they'll be reviewed for concurrency, which will look at the amount of trips that are that there's capacity for to allow this development. And that all comes to bear it when we do an engineered plan as well.
Okay, so basically what this action tonight would allow would be to change the designation to what is obviously consistent with the next door parcel, because it's also R18. So it would set a maximum residential unit capacity, but that maximum capacity would be not guaranteed based on the logistics of the requirements of the site plan, traffic included.
Correct. You'll see a site plan again when it comes to site plan approval. So you'll get another review of this when the site plan is before you. And that is correct in terms of this sets the ceiling. We don't know what the floor is going to be until we have an engineered plan. And then when the engineered plan comes in and that density count's available, then the other metrics, for example, like transportation, will be more carefully reviewed at that time.
Okay, so I just have one more question, and that's about stormwater. In the past, we did see with the large storms that we had issues all over the area with stormwater containment, retention, direction, all of that. I know that we're not at that point yet, but this does not consider anything to do with the need for stormwater retention, correct? This is
No,
just.
ma'am, that will be reviewed also at engineering. We've been put on notice that it may be a closed basin. We don't know that for sure. I know that we have a no wetlands letter, but that no wetlands letter is outdated, so they would have to, look into that again at site engineering. Again, all that will come to bear when they do an engineered plan. This is only, where it fits in the future long-range plan in terms of if, at a higher level of services are being planned for that, and if that land use is compatible in this area. And so what we're saying is that at a very high level, we feel like the 18 units is consistent with what's out there, with the typologies that are out there. And then beyond that, when it gets reviewed for site engineering and we can come in with finer grain detail and you get to take a look at that as well as other review agencies and other disciplines, then we'll have a better idea of how that number will fit and what the maximum number will be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kravitz.
I have a question for you, Mr. Morita. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm curious, apart from your institutional outreach going to the schools, did you solicit any feedback from residents in the area?
No, I didn't solicit any feedback, only through the notice. I did get one email. I believe it was from an adjacent, it might have been from you, I'm not sure. It was me, sir. Okay. Yeah, it was from an adjacent apartment complex, and they were asking me what it was for. Explained that it was for the density increase, and the zoning was not changing.
That's great. In the photos, I noticed that there was a Hillsborough County sign out there. I didn't see a Temple Terrace sign out there, and I'm just curious, for the sake of consistency, my understanding is that this process began 5 years ago, which is a little, as you pointed out, unusual. And based on our statutes, would it not be required for the notice to be continuously posted for all 5 years?
I don't believe so. The notice would have met the requirements from, when you back it up from the hearing. I mean, it's not highly unlikely that, if it did, that any type of signage would have sustained 5 years. But the property was noticed in accordance with the appropriate timeframes and the appropriate signage, so forth.
Okay. And I don't have any questions for you, but I do have a couple of questions for the developers representative. I don't know.
Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? No?
Thank you very much for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for building in Temple Terrace. That's great. Appreciate it. And I just have a couple of simple questions. First one being, are you planning for your future development? I know, you never know what's going to happen. Any landscape buffers to the west so that the single-family homes in that area have a little bit of a barrier?
Yeah, of course we'd have certain setbacks that are required through the zoning designation. I believe they might be 35. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but we would always comply with any engineering design standards within the land development code.
Sorry, I understand that the setback would obviously have to be obeyed.
Oh, landscape buffers.
What I was asking about is if you would be planning any landscaping at this stage in your process. For example, nice trees or maybe a fence or something appealing like that.
Yeah, we don't have any plans as of now, but we are open to any suggestions, but currently we don't have any plans.
Okay, thanks for answering that. And my only other question is, why did you delay for 5 years? I'm curious.
That's a great question. I think there was just some internal, I wasn't a part of the project when it was filed 5 years ago, but I think there was some, differences on what we wanted to do in the future in terms of development. And so when it was submitted, it went through the Planning Commission at Hillsborough County, and then I'm not sure what the disconnect was between the Hillsborough County Planning Commission and then forwarding it to the City Council of Temple Terrace, but it just never happened. And I think there was just something on our end that we didn't either we didn't forward it along to the City Council, but there wasn't any major roadblocks that we discovered, and we decided to intentionally stop the project. But My dad is here. He was the one who filed it initially, but I think it was just a lack of like, okay, what should we do next? And we didn't take that step. If Joe has any further information on it, he's welcome to speak, but.
No, that's okay. And these are going to be quite small units, I'm guessing, in the end.
Yeah, there are obviously some, some issues with the site, so we're not probably going to get even close to that 54 unit ceiling. But based on the zoning classification, we're not intending at this point to rezone. So there's a couple uses that are allowed within that. Obviously, there's the 10-acre limit on the townhomes. But at this point, we're trying to develop something multifamily.
Okay. Well, thanks for answering the questions. I look forward to seeing how this develops.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just quick, this is more for staff. Thank you very much. We appreciate you putting the effort in on this. We've had a lot of, we've got to do this, we're going to do that. What's the next steps? What's going to be the rest of the process?
If this gets adopted, the next step is basically incumbent upon the applicant. Their next step would be to file for a site plan. That would be transmitted to all the review agencies, partner departments in Temple Terrace. Then we'll go through the process, and when that becomes final, then their next step would be the building process.
About how many steps, how many more times will it come back to council, this council?
At least one.
Okay. So that way, people would have an opportunity to hear what's going on with it. People have an opportunity, I'm sorry, people have an opportunity to hear what's going on and how the development is progressing. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Morita, I have a couple questions. I want to dig a little deeper into the stormwater and the drainage because Meadowwood did get hit pretty hard with Milton, and across the street did too. The water there flows down and kind of bowls up around the new VA hospital, but that's an area that's kind of challenged with this. And so I know some of this from being on council, but I'm not sure that some of this has come out for the public's edification. And so I want to walk through some of this. So right now, just put it in simple layman's terms, we have 3 acres of pervious surface. So when it rains on all 3 acres, and all 3 acres have the ability to form puddles, and it perks, and we got full 3 acres of natural water mitigation. If you build even at 18, I mean, and we're just increasing the potential density, but even if it was at 18, if you develop this in any meaningful way, not only are you going to have the buildings, but you're going to have parking lots and sidewalks and driveways and right. So 3 acres of what's now completely pervious is going to become probably mostly impervious with parking lots and buildings and stuff like that. So from a layman's perspective, common sense will tell you, look, we got 3 acres of capacity now. We're going to have, what, a half an acre when this is over. When it rains, most of that rain is going to be falling on concrete and roof and stuff like that. So where's that water going to go? And so can you dig into that a little bit? Because I know that there's calculations for this, and all of that water has to be accounted for according to engineering standards. But from a common sense standpoint, from the public's perspective, like, well, you can engineer it all you want, but you got 3 acres of capacity now. You're going to have this much then. So can you please fill in the gaps a little bit for the neighbors and really for us too, where is this water going to go?
Intuitively, I would agree. You have an area that, you go through in a storm event and you see there's standing water and it's problematic. I'm not a stormwater engineer. I'm not an engineer at all, but my understanding of how engineering works, and we have engineering staff here that may be able to speak to that at a more refined level than myself. But the way it's supposed to work, as I understand it, is that when the development process occurs, the development should not make that runoff rate change to the point where it makes matters worse. So I don't know if it would be an improvement to the area, but it wouldn't make matters worse if that area is designed properly. Now, again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't want to speak out of school. But I could ask maybe Ron to speak generally to that.
Well, I don't want to try to get into the design features because nobody even knows what's going to happen yet. So it would be speculative, but I want people to understand how the codes deal with this. So if there's calculated that there's I'm making numbers up because I don't know how you calculate that, but there's so many inches of rainfall there now. So we know how much water falls on that annually on average. So in short, don't they have to design systems that account for the storage or disposal of that much water?
My understanding of it is that the rate is held to a certain standard, and that rate can't change past the amount that's being put off the site now. If it's a different type of area, like maybe a closed basin, there may be different rates that apply. But personally, I've never reviewed a stormwater plan, so I really can't speak to the specifics of the engineering standards. I can speak to the concepts that I'm aware of. The applicant is an engineer, and we have a city engineer here as well. They could probably speak to a more educated level than I can on that specific matter. But, what I do know is that, when it comes in for site engineering, that will be specifically reviewed, and they will be required to compensate at a level that will not make that area flood it may not make it better, but it should not make it worse.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, is I'm trying to give the neighbors some assurance that the codes and standards, current day building codes and standards, take this into account. I don't want, well, first of all, I want to establish it for us too. We don't want to vote for something that's going to make things worse. But I want to provide some assurance that modern building codes and standards take this into account, and it's not like the 70s when you just build stuff and you build a detention pond this big and everything floods around you. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not like that. And again, I can't speak to the specific details, but every plan that comes before you, whether it's this one or any other plan that you've reviewed previously or you will review in the future, when the staff says that it's been reviewed for stormwater and meets that standard, that meets whatever standard that Temple Terrace, Swift Mud, whoever else is looking at this piece has in place at that time to protect the amount of runoff that comes off that site, how much will have to be captured on it and engineered in a way, whether it's in some type of pond or however they engineer for that at the point when they do site engineering. So I can't speak to the specific runoff rates, but there are standards that have been adopted by state and local regulatory agencies, and they'll have to meet that standard. I can't tell you specifically what that runoff standard is, however. We can get that more specifically for you if you'd like us to bring that back.
Well, it'll be coming back when we get to site plan anyway, so, okay.
I'm sorry I couldn't give a more specific answer than that, but any other questions or anything?
Other questions for anybody before I give the, yes, Councilmember Kravitz.
Question to the city attorney. Would it be illegal or arbitrary for us to move this forward, but then with the proviso attached that the current statutory stormwater requirements are exceeded by, say, 10 or 20%, something along those lines?
I'm not very comfortable with that. Again, we're here on the comp plan amendment, which is changing the underlying, the maximum density for that property. We're not into that aspect yet. We don't know what they're going to design. I do want to, perhaps to help with this question, I mean, Mr. Moreta, if I could ask you a quick question, is that okay, Mayor?
Sure.
The applicant, they have to, when it comes time to actually develop the property, because this isn't giving them the okay to develop the property, it's just saying, how dense, how many units they could have there. But when they do develop it, they're going to have to account for all that stormwater on the property, correct? I mean, they're not, and they can't let it detrimentally affect any neighboring properties. They have to either have a vault or some sort of retention pond. In other words, that water has to stay on that property.
Or they'll have to create less impervious surface. It may need to go up as opposed to out. I mean, there's different ways that they can deal with that, to help that design. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of how much are you going to cover and how much you're going to compensate.
Right. So, yes, Councilmember Kravitz, therefore, I think it would be not appropriate at this point to be addressing the stormwater. This is strictly a comp plan amendment, the future land use map that we're dealing with. Those types of issues would be accounted for when they begin development and bring in their plans.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Morita. I
Thank
always
you.
like to give the applicant an opportunity for the last word. If you want to say anything, you get the last word. Don't have to, but
Yeah, I would just reiterate that at this point, we're not sure what we wanted to build at this point, but we're definitely going to comply with any engineering standards within the Temple Terrace Land Development Code, and we're completely aware of all the concerns on the site relating to, capacity, retention, and such. So it's, it's our issue as well, and we'll figure it out. And whenever we come back for final site plan review, we can have these discussions, and we'll work with staff to get to something that works.
very good. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, council, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
I was gonna, I'm sorry, Mayor Ross. We do have another reading coming up. There's gonna be 2, so we'll be back in January. What we can do is look into that, the stormwater question and maybe get more refined information on that to provide at that reading if it helps.
Okay.
Unless you're comfortable, but we can do that before the next reading, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, public comment is passed. In fact, we closed the public hearing. So, Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending the Imagine 2040 Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan, future land use map for a parcel of land located south of Talina Lane, east of North 78th Street, north of Lake Isle Drive, and west of Cedar Drive, consisting of approximately 3.0 plus or minus acres by changing the future land use designation on said property from residential 9 to residential 18 for CPA 20-02, providing for amendment of the official future land use map of the city, providing severability, an effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, is there a motion?
Move to approve a first reading of public hearing of ordinance amending the future land use of parcel located south of Talina Lane, east of North 78th Street, residential 9 to residential 18, CPA 2002.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion.
I have a comment that I'd like to make.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, just for the public, that's why I asked the question, what's going to be the next step? What's going to be the next process? Just doing today doesn't mean they can go out and start digging holes and building. And they're aware of it. They've been working on this for about 5 years. We are very, very sensitive to the issues of particularly stormwater, street density. I fought that fight for the last 7 years of Temple Terrace Highway. Our staff is very diligent in putting together the restrictions or conditions or whatever needs to happen. Let's wait and see what comes out, because they don't even know what they're going to build yet, or at least it's not shared here. So this is just the first step. We're going to have another reading in 2 weeks, or I'm sorry, at the next scheduled time, and we'll have opportunity for discussion of particular landscaping, stormwater, parking, the whole 9 yards. This is none of that's addressed here tonight. So that's my only comment.
Other comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Motion is adopted. Ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, January the 6th, 2026. Thank you very much. Next item is the second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1585, amending the capital improvements section of the city's comprehensive plan. I'll open the public hearing. Planning Commission Representative Diego Guerra is here. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Diego Guerra, Planning Commission staff. I am here in lieu of my colleague, Erica Larson, who is not able to be here tonight. This item is the Planning Commission's consistency review of the capital improvements section's schedule of projects update. Excuse me here. The review was conducted in accordance with Chapter 163 that requires the schedule of projects, which is a list of projects that derive from the capital improvements program and specifically address levels of service. It is these projects that make up the schedule of projects, and they are updated in the comprehensive plan on an annual basis. Planning Commission staff identifies the projects within the capital improvements program that affect levels of service, and this is what, again, makes up the schedule of projects. The update is accomplished by ordinance, which is permitted under Chapter 163, and this is out of the norm for the normal standard plan amendment process. Because it occurs annually, Chapter 163 does allow for that process. The summary is of the projects which are placed into 6 program areas, as you can see on the slide. The total funding amount for FY26 through FY30 is approximately $39.1 million for a total of 86 projects. The LOS priorities are depicted at the bottom of the slide, and the slide depicts the total breakdown in terms of projects and where they fit within those categorizations. As you can see, majority of the projects address repair, replacement, or renovation of current systems, which are outlined in capital improvement section objective 1.1. A total of 83% of the projects address the replacement of facilities or elimination of deficiencies. Staff also analyzed the schedule with respect to the funding sources requirements, funding source requirements outlined in the comprehensive plan. Capital improvement policy 1.5.5 states that general funds should not be used for those facilities with dedicated revenue sources such as potable water, wastewater, or solid waste. After review of the general fund expenditures, staff found that none of these types of projects relied on those funds. Capital improvement policy 1.5.10 and 1.5.11 state that all projects within the first 3 years of the city's schedule of projects be funded with committed revenue sources. These include ad valorem taxes, gas taxes, and user charges. Staff reviewed the funding sources and timing and found that the schedule funding was in accordance with these requirements as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Planning Commission found the city's FY26 through FY30 schedule of projects consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and recommends the city adopt it by ordinance. That concludes my presentation. I'm also available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, are there questions? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Guerra.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the annual modification and update to the capital improvements section of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for the City of Temple Terrace, pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes, by modifying and updating the 5-year capital improvement schedule of projects for fiscal years 2025 to 26 through 2029 to 30, and incorporating the 10-year long-term improvements for the multi-model transportation district for 2026 to 2035 into the schedule of projects, which incorporates by reference per the comprehensive plan cap policy 1.5.13 Hillsborough County Transportation Planning Organizations, TPO, Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Development Plan, HARTS, TDP, and Hillsborough County Public Schools Facilities Work Program, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, is there a motion?
Yes. Move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1585, amending the capital improvement sections of the city's comprehensive plan.
Second.
Very good. A motion is second. Discussion of the motion. Councilmember Fernandez.
I just want to clarify, because it was read into the record as transportation planning, which it's not the TPO, it's the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization.
No, it's a TPO, it's a
I'm
transportation.
looking right here on my,
He's chitter.
it says
It's
MPO.
probably some confusion because it changed their name about 3 years ago. That's
Okay.
probably why it's,
It says on mine, Hillsborough County Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, Transportation Improvement Program, TIP.
yeah.
But anyway, we said TPO instead of, so I'm just saying that. But my other comment is that, just for anybody watching, understand that our long-term capital improvement projects do get updated every year based on the needs and what the community needs and what our infrastructure might need. So this is a plan, but it can change and it can be updated throughout the year and each year as the city's needs change.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you. Next is the second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1586, amending sections 12-357, final plat plan review, and 12-354, preliminary plat plan review of the Land Development Code. I will open the public hearing, and our esteemed senior planner, Alyssa Livingstone, is here to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Alyssa Livingstone, senior planner. This is a second public hearing and reading for proposed text amendments to our Land Development Code that ensures full compliance with a recent mandate from the Florida statutes, specifically Section 177.071. The Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission approved these text amendments on Monday, December 8th, 2025. The overall intent of this legislative update is to streamline plat approvals. Section 177.071 of the Florida statutes now requires all municipalities to designate an administrative official to approve final plats and replats. To comply with this state mandate and streamline our development review process, we recommend designating the city manager for this administrative function. Implementing this change requires amending Section 12357. Additionally, the city is proposing to make corresponding adjustments to Section 12354, which governs preliminary plat reviews. This action ensures the preliminary plat review process aligns with the new legislative requirements for final plat approvals, creating a cohesive development review process. Currently, in Section 12357, subsection C, after the DRC review is complete, the city engineer confirms completeness and compliance, and then the plat is sent to the city council for final sign-off. In Section 12357, subsection D, following final approval by city council, the city engineer coordinates the recording of the plat. The updated text dictates that the plat be forwarded to the city manager for final approval instead of the city council. This change recognizes that plat approval is primarily an administrative action and removes it from the city council's legislative agenda. Currently, in section 12354, subsection G, any applicant wishing to appeal a preliminary disapproval goes before the city council. If amended, the appeal would be directed to the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I'll close the Oh, Councilmember Kravitz.
I'm just curious, I read the staff report on this, and it was said that no changes are statutorily required when it comes to preliminary plat review, only to the final plat review. So I'm wondering if you could just elaborate on what the rationale was for taking the appeal away from city council and moving it to the city manager. I read that it was suggested here that it would ensure that the internal process supports the overall intent of the update. What intent is that, and what was the thought there?
So the overall intent of the update is essentially to take away, or I would say remove the pressure from city council to review plats, to recognize that plat review and preliminary plat review is essentially an administrative function. And the reason why we are recommending that city manager reviews preliminary plat disapproval appeals is in order for the process to be streamlined, because it essentially makes sense to do the same thing or the same action or the same flow for prelim plats and plats.
Thank you for the answer. That's all.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, very well. And if there's no further questions, I'll close. Oh.
This is questions to staff, correct? We're still going to have a discussion, just to...
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yep, okay. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending sections 12-357 and 12-354 of the City Code of Ordinances, designating the city manager as the administrative authority for final plat review, designating the city manager as the arbiter of appeals for preliminary plat review, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilmember Kravitz, did you wish the floor?
I just have a comment. Thank you very much. I have just a small comment regarding the appeals process. It's not directed at staff, but something for everyone to think about. An appeal generally goes to an entity that isn't the entity that made the decision originally. So when you go to appeal, you want to have someone new looking at your case. You don't want to have the same body looking at your case again, especially if you've just been rejected. You went through the trouble of going to the city, you went through your process, you didn't get what you wanted, and then you want someone else to look at it. And of course, at that point in time, you probably want to have a new set of eyes on the matter and not the same set of eyes. And that set of eyes in the past was City Council. So I read through this and I was struck by that. And I think it's better if we send appeals to someone or some body that is not the body that originally rejected the application. If it goes to the city manager, it remains within the administrative process, as has been pointed out. The city council is not part of the administrative process. And so you're getting a second set of eyes now. But if we amend the statute You're not. You're getting the same administration that rejected your application to look at it one more time. And from my experience, that rarely leads to a different outcome. So it's not very effective as an appeal. So if we want to provide people with an effective appeal, we'd leave it as it is right now. And as the staff report on December 2nd, 2025 stated, the legislative update does not include preliminary plats. So the amendment to this section, 12354G, is purely voluntary. So I would put it out there that maybe we should allow appeals to continue coming to City Council. I personally haven't seen one in an entire year. I can't imagine that it's that big of a burden. It doesn't seem that it happens very often at all. So I'd invite anyone else to share their thoughts on this topic.
Mr. Mueller or Mr. Pauly or Ms. I'm not sure who should answer this, but. Okay, you haven't heard the question yet. So check my understanding, because I read this a little differently, but the point raised is a valid point. I agree. So I'm not crazy about this change in statute. But the law now requires that the city manager be the decider on final plats, if I'm correct in that. Doesn't do that for preliminary plats. So we could potentially, I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, you could appeal the preliminary decision to the city council, but you couldn't appeal the final decision anyway. Am I correct, or am I misunderstanding what I'm reading?
Let me back up just a little bit and kind
Okay.
of walk everyone through that process, because I
Okay.
think there's some misinformation.
Okay.
Starting with preliminary plats. Preliminary plats are reviewed by DRC, not the city manager. Preliminary plats are processed as part of the application for the site plan and site engineering construction work. City manager never sees that. In most cases, all preliminary plats are addressed through comments from our staff, including our planners, our engineers, and other participants on the DRC. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of ever denying a preliminary plat to the point that it could not be resolved through addressing DRC comments. So to speak to the previous comment, you're not going back to the same person. If you were denied, and it would have to be kind of a hard stop scenario that could not be remedied through a developer addressing comments. If you were disapproved at the DRC level, then that appeal would then go to the city manager. It sets the city manager as the arbiter for those appeals. Once that application comes full cycle and works its all the way to final plat approval, which is the next stage, then that then goes through, primarily through our city engineer's office, and it is reviewed through third-party surveyors. It is once again reviewed by DRC, and the city engineer takes more of a very active role in that process. And when he declares it ready to move forward, it comes back to my department. It will be packaged and then delivered to the city manager for final approval. So to answer the earlier question, it's not the same person that either approved or disapproved the preliminary that would hear the appeal. It's a completely different person. It's the first part is done through the body of the DRC. The second part is done through the city manager's office. And for clarity, the statute does not require the city manager, but it does require an administrative authority. It's up to this body to designate who that authority is.
Councilmember Kravitz, you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I agree with your statement at the conclusion there, as long as you're referring to the final platting. But you're not referring to the preliminary platting, are you?
Okay, again, the preliminary plat is processed by the DRC. City manager does not see the preliminary plat at that point. If it is disapproved, the developer has the opportunity to appeal that to the city manager as the arbiter of that DRC decision. So again, I know it's a little bit of apples and oranges getting mixed up here, but it's really two different processes.
I really think we're still talking about two completely different things. And if I failed to express myself well, I do apologize. But the point I'm making is you stated we have to designate an administrative officer to handle the plating. But the statute, and this is not only supported by the statute itself, which I read, but also by the staff report on December 2nd, that refers not to preliminary plats. It says here, the update does not include preliminary plats. The amendment to section will ensure that the internal process supports the overall intent of the update. So I agree with you about appointing an administrative officer, no problem. What I'm referring to only right now is the statutory change that's being made to section 12354G regarding the appeals process for preliminary plats. And my understanding is that the Florida statute that we're trying to comply with right now doesn't address preliminary plats at all. It doesn't care about them. They are not mentioned. I'm happy to direct that question to the city attorney, or I believe I also have here the text of the statute, which I can also read into the record, but that is what I'm trying to ask, which is when it comes to preliminary plats, the change we're making right now is voluntary, right?
It is strongly recommended because we believe that the intent of the statute update was to remove the elected officials from the process. And that's what our recommendation is based upon.
Okay, but then if they had wanted to remove the elected officials from the process, why didn't they just remove them from the process instead of only removing them from the final plat process? They had that option when they passed this law.
I can't speak to how it was drafted in that fashion. I can tell you that not every municipality or organization utilizes preliminary plats. Temple Terrace happens to utilize preliminary plats.
Right. Another way of looking at this, though, is that in the statute that they just passed, they specifically addressed final plats, but they didn't address preliminary plats. And you could conclude from that, then the statute didn't want to address preliminary plats. They wanted to give people the old way of appealing, right? They didn't want to mess with that. So that's another way of reading it. That's always the trouble with statutory interpretations. You could go either way, right? So, but what we're doing right now, just to be clear, we're taking from City Council something that City Council has right now. We're giving it to someone else, and we're doing that on our own volition. There's no one forcing us to do this, correct?
Again, it's a very strong recommendation.
From staff?
Yes.
Yeah. So, again, I think, to your point, it's another person. Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't a different person. I said it's the same administrative structure, right? Like you're in the city admin with your appeal. You stay in the city admin with your appeal. And there is coordination between city staff at all kinds of levels. They're always talking to each other. They're always coordinating. And I can almost guarantee that the city manager is going to know that this is coming down the pipeline. And so you're not getting a completely fresh set of eyes. I just think that if you are an applicant and you want to use your right of appeal, it's better to be able to go to someone else who isn't as enmeshed in that process. This is typical. That's why you go to a different judge, right? You usually take a different lawyer when you go to appeals too, right? Someone completely fresh so you can start from new and you don't have all that bias going with you. So I think this is a voluntary change that we're making here, and I don't really see the rationale behind it. And again, as you pointed out, this has never happened. You've always been able to resolve it, which is great. No criticism at all. But this never comes up. So it's also kind of taking something away that isn't all that practically relevant. And if in the off chance that something like this does come up, why is the old way so bad? That's my question to you.
Again, all I can say is to reiterate what I said a moment ago. When, upon reviewing the statutory update, it was very clear that the state decision makers did not want local elected bodies involved in this process. And that is why we elected to bring forward both amendments, both sections in the amendment.
Well, I understand that. I get it. If the state feels that way, then they should make their intention clear, but they didn't do that in the statute. So as it stands, I'd be happy to vote for this with the absence of 12354G, but I'm not going to vote to take power away from City Council on it if it's not legally required. I just don't see the reason why I would do that. And I think that it's completely reasonable for the applicant to come to City Council with their appeal and then have a fair hearing here. So I think that all of us are perfectly capable of offering that. And so that's my position on that one. I yield the floor.
Vice Mayor Schisler.
This has not come before, we don't get preliminary reviews. These get handled internally.
That's correct.
You've said that a couple times now, okay? For consistency, I don't have a problem with it. We never see it anyway, so it's not going to, you guys would figure it out ultimately anyway, and come to a resolution to whatever the problem is. Okay, I'm okay with where it is.
Councilmember Fernandez.
I do have a question with, I understand what the statute says, and 12-357 is not an optional change. We do have to do that. However, for practicality purposes, what would happen? I also agree with someone wanting to appeal to a different body versus the body that made the decision. So what would be the actual practical process of if they came to, so working through the DRC process, plat gets rejected and there is no compromise and it's just rejected, and right now they would come to city council to appeal it, and city council is a totally different body and not an employee of the city the same way. So what if the city council at that time said, we disagree with this rejection and we agree with the preliminary plat review? Then it goes to the final review or the final decision, and city staff basically reverts back to the one that city council overrode in the preliminary process, and then, but city staff says, nope, we don't agree with your reversal, and we have the final say, we're the final arbiter of how this will go based on 12-357.
I know you're looking there, but if I could please respond. Our code won't allow that to happen. Our code allows a preliminary plat, once it is approved, that is your plat moving forward. The primary differences between a preliminary plat and a final plat is the final plat is when all of the entitlements come on board, when all of the required engineering notations come on board. It's all of the technical legal jargon that has to come on board to that final plat. The sum and substance of the plat, our code will not allow it to change significantly between preliminary and final. So if that's a concern of yours, I can tell you right now that our code simply doesn't allow it to happen. Because one of the things that the city engineer is charged with in his shepherding of that review process is he is charged with ensuring that the final plat as presented is consistent with the preliminary plat as approved.
So, okay, so if it came, if we keep everything, if we keep 12-354 the same and don't make any changes, then city council theoretically would be a different body for someone to appeal to.
Yes.
Okay.
And unfortunately, my concern is that if you do keep it the same and the city council renders a ruling on it, as I just said, he's required as a city engineer to ensure that the final is consistent with the preliminary, which now means the city council has taken action on the final, you see.
Okay,
So even though the intent of the statute was to remove the local elected officials, that inadvertently backdoors it right back in. And that, and I'm not an attorney, I know we have a couple in the room, but that to me seems like a problem.
I guess that would be my question for our city attorney, because on the one hand, I wholeheartedly agree with somebody who's developing a project having a different body to appeal something to, but on the other hand, does that put us in conflict if our preliminary site plan is going to, has to be the same as the final site plan. And then if this were to happen, the city council will then have made the decision in conflict with what the state said. So
Right. I think that there could be a concern that we would end up doing indirectly what the state statute is prohibiting. I think also it's important to understand kind of practically if, again, I think that Mr. Pauly has described how the preliminary plan works. It's going to go through the DRC, there's going to be comments, they respond to the comments. If they were to want to appeal that for some reason, which I actually don't know if they ever would, but if they did, that's going to cause a delay because it's got to get in front of the city council. And I don't know if that is, what even developers would want. They are going to get another look at it through the city manager, but, a separate set of eyes. He's not involved in the DRC. But I guess to answer your question is I would be concerned that we would, a process that would allow the preliminary appeal to you and you make a decision, which it should then become part of the final. The legal department wouldn't let hopefully wouldn't, it would work out to where what your decision would stay in the final. But I am concerned that that would indirectly be doing what the state statute or the legislature has been trying to prohibit.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Kravitz.
Very brief question to City Attorney. Why are we all saying that the state legislature is trying to prohibit the city council from addressing these final plat things?
He can't hear you. Microphone. Is your microphone?
I'm sorry, I turned it off because I was flipping my papers around. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask, why are we all assuming what the intention of the legislator was? Because the final plat is, as Mr. Pauly just correctly pointed out, a completely technical process. It's 29 things, you check the boxes, and then it goes through. So there's nothing you can do, as he pointed out, from the preliminary to the final stage anyway. There's no decision-making left at that point. All of it is in the preliminary phase. So why are we all saying that the legislature, why are we presuming that they had a particular intention behind this when there's no evidence for it in the statute? Or what evidence, let me rephrase that, what evidence in the statute is there for the fact that they wanted to remove the city council from this process, as everyone is suggesting?
Well, I was going by the actual language itself when it says that it can no longer go to the city council for final approval, which I guess I assumed meant they didn't want the city council to have final approval. They would rather it be done administratively. So that's why I'm saying, that's where my assumption comes from.
Okay, I agree that they don't want the city council involved in the final process, but we're all saying city council politicians should be completely removed from the entire process from A to Z. But we're up here making decisions on the preliminary process in an appeal. And, just to remind everyone, what is in the preliminary process, we've got stuff like setbacks, we have lot sizes, street layouts and access, stormwater management, all of that stuff is all very relevant and something that people have opinions on. So I fail to see, other than the fact that the final process is now administrative because it's 29 technical requirements where you're just doing a checkbox, I don't see why we're all assuming that we know what the state legislature intended, because I think watching them, it's usually pretty difficult to tell.
I'm just expressing the concern. That's all. It's just that it could end up being problematic down the road.
I've made my point. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? If not, is there a motion?
I'd like to move to amend this ordinance to remove the proposed change at 12-354G.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. I have some if nobody else does, and so I haven't, this is a long statute. Well, it's not that long, but, and I didn't read this from the first reading. I read it at the first reading, but of just 1A of 177-071 says a plat or replat submitted under this part must be administratively approved, and no further action or approval by the governing body of a county or municipality is required. If the plat or replat complies with the requirements of 177.091, the governing body of the county or municipality shall designate, by ordinance or resolution, an administrative authority to receive, review, and process the plat or replat submittal, including designating an administrative official responsible for approving with conditions, or denying the proposed plat or replat. And then defines administrative authority in the next paragraph means a department, division, or other agency of the county or municipality for purposes of issuing a final administrative approval of plat or replat's final. The term also includes administrative officer or employee designated by the governing body of the county or municipality, including but not limited to a county administrator, city manager, deputy county administrator, blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't say preliminary, but to your point, and I've heard this before, not every city or county uses preliminary plats. Sometimes they just go right to the final. So from that language, it's clear to me that the legislature's intent was to make this an administrative function and not a legislative function of the governing body. So I don't think that the world as we know it will end if we pass this, but I do think that we're doing this in contradiction to what I consider to be pretty clear legislative intent. Now, I concede that I am not an attorney, and I haven't reviewed this and gone back and talked to other people about it, so I could be wrong. But Vice Mayor.
Yes, my only comment to all this is that I agree with you. The intent of the statute is to remove the political aspect of it in the review, in the site plan review. The fact that not everybody uses preliminary, they're not going to address every iteration that appears. If anything, we did anything to this, I would like to see the what was it, 12-354, the preliminary site plan review modified so that there is no appeal process. You guys work it out, okay? I don't want council involved in it because it's going to be interpreted incorrectly, I believe. And then the city manager, it has to happen, but the city manager knows that we're not to code, whatever that puts that person in a very, very awkward position to have to essentially override what council has come back and said, well, we know better than you as far as this goes. So if we did anything, go back and review the 12th, the preliminary site plan section, so that take the appeal process out of it. We don't have, we don't need it. The kids fight it out in the sandbox. You guys fix it before it ever goes to final. As far as the city manager being the final arbitrator, he's not involved in it to begin with. So if it's, and essentially from the time the final site plan or the preliminary is approved until it reaches the city manager's desk, it's just dotting I's and crossing T's. There's nothing changing of the substance from what I've heard. So it's essentially the same thing happening anyway. He would come in, he would approve it, and then there's no appeal process for the final. It's just signing off that it's been done, and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I don't see where we need to do anything different than what's proposed.
Further discussion of the motion. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say
Can we
aye.
restate the motion? Can we restate the motion, make sure we're on the same page with this?
Councilmember Kravitz, could you restate the motion, please?
Going off of my memory, the motion was to remove the modification to section 12-354G that was included in the ordinance draft that we have on the table.
Okay. Further discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. 2 ayes. Did you get that, Madam Clerk? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, council, is there another motion?
Move to approve. amendment, or I'm sorry, move to approve ordinance 1586, amending sections 12357, final plat review, and sections 12354, preliminary plat review of the Land Development Code.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion of the motion.
One comment if no one else.
Councilmember Kravitz.
I just want to put this on the record. I will be voting no on this because I believe in the separation of powers. I don't think we should give away powers that we have. I think we should guard our powers and make sure that we use them as a tool to help the residents in this city. And as I pointed out, stuff like density, stormwater management, lot setbacks, landscaping, all of that stuff is involved in the preliminary plat review. The situation that we'd have on the table here is that a developer comes in, they make their application is denied, they don't like the outcome of that, then they come to city council for another look. I don't have a problem with that because when they do that, the public will get a notice, they'll get an opportunity to speak. They can come and share their opinions about what's going on, whether they approve of the rejection or whether they disapprove of the rejection, and then we can act as a corrective to the administration, to the staff, if necessary, or we can uphold what they've decided depending on whatever the situation is. So we should keep that as it is if the legislature isn't requiring us to give it up. And I also don't think it's reasonable for us to voluntarily surrender powers in anticipation of some intention that the legislature may or may not have. If they want to do that, then they can make their intention clear. They haven't done that in this case. I feel no obligation to give up powers that the city council currently has that allow us to let the public participate in this process. And so for that reason, I'm just going to be a no vote on this. And with that, I yield my time here.
Other discussion of the motion? I just for the record, I don't disagree with everything that you just said, Councilmember Kravitz. As far as giving up local council control, I don't disagree with you. I don't like this new legislative change. I do disagree with you on, I think the legislature made their intent very clear, and it's consistent with what they've done for the past few years, and that is they want the local elected officials out of these kinds of decisions. And that, I think their intent is clear. They didn't use the term preliminary because not everybody uses the preliminary, but I think that's the one part I disagree with. I don't disagree with you on, I don't like it, but I do disagree with you on, I think this is what the legislature intended us to do. And so, anyway, yes. Okay.
And to that point, remember the last meeting when this was first discussed, I brought up the same thing. Legislature was forcing us to do something that we had done in the past to begin with. So while I'm against it, again, giving up power, giving up the opportunity for us to do this, as I stated 2 weeks ago, kind of making us do this type of thing.
Yeah, I don't want to be removed from office over a preliminary plat review thing.
We're being forced to do this. They didn't say preliminary. We have a preliminary. We know what we can make an educated guess as to what the intention was really going to be. So that's why I'm supporting it in this fashion.
Councilmember Fernandez.
I just want to comment because last reading I did vote to support this, and I had not heard the arguments presented by Councilmember Kravitz, and those arguments are persuasive to me, and I agree. So I will be voting no on this. However, I do believe, based on the conversation that we've had tonight, that if this, yes, every jurisdiction in this state does not require a preliminary plat review, but there's others that do. So if the state intended to, they were full within their power to include that. So that's how my thought process has progressed through this conversation, and that's why I am a no vote on this.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I had to vote no. Never mind.
So,
I meant to
record
vote
needs to
no,
be
I'm
clear on this, because this could be, Councilmember Kravitz and Councilmember Fernandez
Yes.
voted no on this.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. Pauling. And thank you, Ms. Livingstone. I know you stood back there patiently for a long time. Thank you. Next, public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1587, creating short-term rental requirements. I'll open the public hearing. And our Code Compliance Director, Jack Shanks, is here to present. Good evening, Mr. Shanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Jack Shanks, Code Compliance. Tonight, I'm presenting an ordinance that establishes a regulatory framework for managing short-term rentals within the city of Temple Terrace. As you know, short-term rentals have become increasingly common in residential neighborhoods across Florida. This ordinance is designed to help the city manage that growth responsibly, balancing private property rights and state preemption with our duty to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. Our overall goal is simple: ensure that short-term rentals operate safely, fit appropriately within our neighborhoods, and contribute positively to the community. Short-term rentals, often hosted through platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, have created new challenges for cities across the state. Before 2011, Florida cities had the ability to regulate short-term rentals under home rule authority. That changed when the legislature passed House Bill 883, which preempted local control. In 2014, the legislature restored some local authority through Senate Bill 356, allowing cities like ours to regulate short-term rentals for health, safety, and welfare, but not to prohibit them outright or limit how often they can be rented. Based on data provided to us by short-term rental company compliance software providers like Granicus and Decker Technologies, we can estimate that our current number of short-term rentals within Temple Terrace is approximately 150. While many of these are well-managed, others have generated issues. We've addressed complaints at short-term rental properties involving multiple vehicles parked in yards, blocking the right-of-way, trash not being disposed of properly left to become a nuisance, and reports of excessive noise and occupancy levels. Without consistent standards, it becomes difficult for staff and residents to address those impacts fairly and effectively. This ordinance provides a balanced and legally sound way for us to address those concerns while respecting state law. To create this ordinance, multiple jurisdictions were researched. Pinellas County, the city of Bradenton, Daytona Beach, and Anna Maria, amongst others, were reviewed. It was shown that some cities received challenge from the short-term rental operators who viewed the ordinance as over-regulatory or discriminatory. And in those cases, issues were either settled or the ordinance was revisited. Pinellas County's ordinance was created with those challenges in mind and is fair and beneficial to the residents and short-term rental operators alike. I did meet with my counterpart in Pinellas County Code Enforcement to talk through their wins and challenges that they faced, and those notes were instrumental in the creation of our ordinance. The proposed Temple Terrace short-term rental ordinance uses Pinellas County as a base, but is adjusted to encompass the unique needs of our city. The public purpose of this ordinance is to serve the health, safety, and general welfare of our community. It does that by requiring all short-term rentals to meet basic life and safety standards under the Florida Building Code and Fire Prevention Code, preserving the quiet character and property values of established neighborhoods, promoting accountability among owners and operators, and ensuring fair treatment of both the short-term rental owners and our residents. Ultimately, this is about ensuring that everyone, residents, visitors, and property owners, can coexist safely and respectfully. This ordinance creates a clear and structured system for short-term rentals in the city. First, it establishes a certificate of use program. All short-term rentals must apply for and maintain a certificate of use, which is valid for 1 year. Before the initial certificate is issued, our fire department will inspect the property to confirm that it meets minimum life safety requirements. That inspection will be repeated every 2 years thereafter. Second, it establishes a registration fee of $200 per property per year. That fee helps offset the administrative and inspection costs associated with the program. It sets operational standards. Maximum occupancy is limited to 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional occupants. In review of other local ordinances, including Sarasota, Pinellas County, and Orlando, this occupancy level is standard. All parking must be off-street. No lawn or grass parking is permitted. In conjunction with Temple Terrace Code 16-7, quiet hours are set between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Each property must have a local responsible party available 24 hours a day to respond to emergencies, inspections, or complaints. Basic safety and contact information must be posted inside the unit in a conspicuous place near the main entry door. It includes advertising requirements. Any advertisement must include the property's license and certificate numbers, the maximum occupancy, and parking limits. That way guests and neighbors have clear expectations before a booking occurs. And finally, it establishes enforcement provisions. Violations are handled under Chapter 1, Article 2 of the City Code using the Standard Code Enforcement Board process. The emphasis is on achieving compliance, not punishment. I'd like to take a few moments to highlight how this proposed short-term rental ordinance is not only protective of our neighborhoods, but also fair and beneficial to responsible short-term rental owners. First, the ordinance legitimizes and protects the right to operate short-term rentals within our city. It doesn't ban or over-restrict them. Instead, it creates that structured certificate of use program which allows owners to operate confidently within clear local standards. By aligning with state law, we ensure that owners retain their property rights while the city retains reasonable oversight to protect the community. Second, it protects owners from liability by requiring those safety inspections. These inspections confirm that each short-term rental meets minimum life and safety requirements under the Florida Building Code and the Florida Fire Prevention Code. It's not just about compliance, it's about reducing risk for the owner and ensuring they're operating a safe property that meets legal standards. It levels the playing field. Every short-term rental operator must follow the same rules, meet the same standards, and hold the same certificate of use. This prevents unregulated operators from undercutting compliant ones and creates a fair, competitive marketplace for everyone who plays by the rules. The ordinance offers a streamlined and transparent process for owners. The certificate of use is valid for a full year and renewals are straightforward. If a property changes ownership, there's a clear and predictable 30-day window for the new owner to reapply. That way there's no confusion or sudden interruptions in their operations. The ordinance provides clarity and predictability. Owners know exactly what's required, how to meet parking, occupancy, advertising, and safety standards. That transparency reduces disputes and helps everyone stay on the same page. It's designed to be fair, measurable, and easy to follow, not punitive or confusing. This framework encourages cooperation between the city and our rental owners. Each rental must designate a responsible party, someone the city can contact directly to resolve issues quickly and professionally. This builds accountability while also showing again that the city's goal is compliance and not punishment. We're aiming to work with our owners, not against them. And finally, this ordinance professionalizes the short-term rental industry in Temple Terrace. It requires proper business licensing through the state, collection and remittance of required taxes, and truthful advertising that includes occupancy and parking limits. That approach rewards owners who operate responsibly and establishes short-term rentals as a legitimate, well-managed component of our local economy. The annual registration fee of $200 per property will cover the cost of inspection, administration, and enforcement, reducing the financial impact on the city's general fund. For property owners and operators, this cost is minimal compared to the average rental income for short-term stays. Overall, the ordinance is expected to have a neutral to modestly positive economic impact because it provides predictability for owners and operators while improving safety and neighborhood compatibility. For the community, it strengthens public confidence in how these properties are managed, creating a safer, more orderly environment for everyone. At the last council meeting, I was asked to provide additional clarification regarding the process for enforcing parking requirements, as this is a frequent concern raised by neighbors. If a parking issue is observed or reported during normal business hours, a code compliance officer will contact the responsible party 24 hours a day to notify them of the violation and, depending on the circumstances, will attempt to have the occupants address the issue immediately. The expectation is that the violation is corrected at that time. A parking violation constitutes a direct violation of the certificate of use. Likewise, failure to respond or take immediate corrective action by the property owner or responsible party is also a violation of the certificate of use. Once the certificate of use is violated, that violation is irreversible, and that triggers a notice of violation and notice of hearing, which will then be scheduled for the next Municipal Code Enforcement Board meeting. During non-business hours, just as they do now, our police will respond to parking-related calls. Officers will have access to the same responsible party contact information and will make the same efforts to achieve immediate compliance. The Code Compliance Department will be notified of the violation and will proceed with issuing the notice of violation, notice of hearing for presentation to the next Municipal Code Enforcement Board. In conclusion, this ordinance provides a practical and balanced approach to managing short-term rentals in Temple Terrace. It respects property rights, enhances neighborhood quality, and ensures that all rental properties operate safely and responsibly. Should this ordinance be approved, we will be fully enforcing it no later than July 1st, 2026. This gives us time to secure the most appropriate software, train staff, and identify and provide notice to all short-term rental owners. Staff respectfully recommends that the City Council approve this ordinance on second reading. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shanks. Prior to questions, we do have some members of the public who wish to comment. First one signed up is Mr. Neil Oakes. Mr. Oakes, welcome, sir.
I'm Neil Oakes. I live on Liberty Avenue, and since 1983. I'm right next door to this multifamily home, vacation rental, motel, whatever you want to call it. There's a whole lot of reasons why this ordinance needs to be passed and should be passed unanimously. There's, as mentioned, there's traffic problems at the corner. There's right at the corner, there's double yellow lines, you can't leave your lane, but they have vehicles parking in there. It's an accident waiting to happen. My understanding is he got no permits, and he made significant structural and electrical changes. Remember what happened in Palisades Park last year, California? Neighborhoods completely burned down. 22 feet away from me, I've got a house with no electrical permits. This is not the same as putting up a privacy fence with no permit. This is doing electrical work. He's got microwaves in some of the bedrooms. Are they big enough to be on dedicated circuits? Did he upgrade his circuit panel? What gauge wire is he using? This is next to my house. And when my granddaughters come to spend the weekend with me, I've got to worry about that. There's a whole host of reasons why this place needs to be shut down, and this ordinance will help do that. You need to get the fire department in there to do inspections. We need to determine if it's safe. There's one thing to have an Airbnb and rent a house out to a family for a week or two or a month. It's still a single family home. This is like a motel. And I've about had it. And I appreciate what everybody in Temple Terrace is doing. Jack has done a phenomenal job in his department trying to work through this. He really has. I don't fault anybody here. It's just unfortunate what's happened. But we got to take charge. This will spread all over Temple Terrace when you have 5 rooms, and by the way, they all have exterior doors and locks on them, like a motel. Do you know how much money he's making? It's going to spread throughout Temple Terrace unless we take back control of our single-family residential areas. And by the way, one last thing. I did a little research. Every 15 to 20 minutes, there is a house fire in the United States from electrical problems. Not from smoking in bed, not from cooking, from electrical problems. Hundreds of people die, thousands are injured. We can't allow this to go on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Oakes. Joseph Logston. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I am Neil Oakes' neighbor, and I just want to say that I would like this to go through because I live right next to him. And for all the reasons that he did a phenomenal job saying everything that needs to happen for safety and for all the other reasons for Temple Terrace not letting this go and spread through. Again, I would like to thank Jack and his department, his staff, for doing tireless work for this, for you guys hearing it and knowing that it could just as easily affect anyone else's homes as it would ours and on our street. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And Sandra Logston. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Logston. I live on Liberty Avenue also, and I think that this ordinance would do a tremendous amount to help keep Airbnbs or the other ones in check, because all of the code violations that have gone on and the issues with that, this ordinance would help to solve all of that. And it would also, I mean, right now, our street's kind of a scary place to be living, and that's kind of sad for Temple Terrace. And I've been Temple Terrace since 1984, and I've never seen anything like this going on. So we hope that you will support this ordinance because it will help Temple Terrace be a safer place. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And Karen Woj. Welcome back.
And it's Wah, like Linebaugh.
Sorry.
Okay. I didn't intend to speak about this, but our next door neighbor, who we welcomed a couple of years ago and did a lot of help for, and invited him to dinner, and we had a new neighbor, and we were trying to make him welcome, and we went out of our way to help him, as did all the neighbors around us, only to find out that he left and turned it into an Airbnb and Verbo. And since then, there's been a steady stream of people coming in and out. One of the things that this does not address, nor does Airbnb, nor does Verbo, is I never know. Just steps from my driveway, which comes all around the back of the house. I have 4 granddaughters, 10 to 1.5. I don't know, and they don't know, whether there's a sex offender next door. That is a glaring error to me. I am terrified every time I see somebody new over there that I'll never meet. Don't know how long they're staying, don't know how loud they'll be, or how much light is coming in my bedroom at night. But the biggest thing that I worry about is my granddaughters riding their little bikes up and down that driveway. That is a glaring error, gentlemen, glaring. Who do I call and who is responsible once that tragedy happens, God forbid? The police? These people may be long gone. It might be quite a while before I find out. It's something you need to think about and address. It's not just parking on the grass, although that's irritating, I'm sure. It's a bigger issue than that. And the more empty houses there are on these streets, the more you're going to be seeing it, and I'm sure this will come up. So I just wanted to be the first to remind you that it will happen. I hope it doesn't happen to my family or anybody else. But unless you make it a requirement, a check, who knows? I ask you to think about it.
Are there other members of the public who wish to address this? Mr. Loeb.
And, I didn't plan on talking about this either, but there are a couple of things, and I want to kind of follow up with this lady's point about absentee owners, about the notification of absentee owners, rather or not. The person buys a place, then they just let it go and do what they said. In other words, how would you be able to enforce this with absentee owners? And then the other thing I was thinking about was the fire inspections. I hope this, I don't know if you all can do this yourselves, but maybe through the League of Cities, that you ought to be negotiating with the insurance companies to get reductions upon fire insurance premiums and other insurance premiums if you're going to go through all these inspections. That's fair. There should be a lesser risk on those things, and that therefore the savings should be passed on to the people, and this might give some of these people, the rental people, a little incentive, lesser fire insurance, in order to cooperate with you all.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this? Mr. Shanks, there is a section in here that addresses the sex offenders. Would you like to comment on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
To your point, ma'am, there is a section that does require a sex offender check. We haven't gotten to this point yet, but should this be approved, when we get to that point, we're going to design part of our webpage. It's going to have the link directly to that to make it easier for the owners and operators to do that. Now, certain sites like Airbnb actually has that built into it. They can do that through their website, should they choose to opt into doing that. But we're going to make that a requirement for the certificate of use.
Council members' questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
So can you elaborate a little bit more about what happens if the people who are renting the property violate one of the tenants? So park in an inappropriate location, or exceed the noise allowance, or do something else, and then the owner will get a notification that they need to, either themselves or a delegate come to the code enforcement meeting. But what happens? Do they get fined? Because our typical code enforcement process for an owner is that you receive a notice of violation, you incur a fine for as many days as it stays unfixed, you address it, you come to code enforcement and discuss with that board, and then you maybe pay the fine or get it mitigated or something like that. But this is a little bit different in how the process would work.
Correct. So because this is a certificate of use, the violations that occur are directly enforceable by that certificate of use. So anything in this ordinance is going to trigger an immediate notification of violation, notification of hearing. They will go to, even if it's corrected that same day, it's still going to go in front of the board. The board will hear that, and they're going to levy a fine. Much like the tree matrix that we have, we'll probably create something similar to that. I have something else that I'm working on, which will come soon, which is going to open up the possibilities for different kinds of fines. However, at this time, it's going to go directly to the board. They're going to levy those fines. They will have the opportunity to place a lien in the home if it's something that's more egregious, but we'll address those on a case-by-case until we build something like a matrix. And that's going to be something we work on over the next couple of months.
So what would happen if you have a property owner who consistently does not follow the requirements that the city would set out, that is consistently in violation of the tenets that we've set forth here? What would happen to that property owner?
We will revoke the certificate of use, and then we will also contact the DBPR for licensure violations and whatnot, because they're not following the city regulations, which is protected by the Florida state statute.
Okay, so because in the past, there has been an issue with localities enforcing any kind of rules regarding a short-term rental of this nature. So we do have some standing here if a property owner is egregious in their management of their business. I mean, it is a business, that we do have some recourse.
We do, and we would engage the city attorney to make sure we're doing things the correct way. But I will also say that right now we have approximately 150 short-term rentals. The ones that we don't really know about or see are the ones that are doing it right, and that is most of them. There are probably 4 or 5 that are kind of giving us a little bit of a hard time, and that's because we don't have any policies in place right now to regulate that or enforce. As we move forward, that's going to open the door for more compliance. I don't think we're going to really run into anything that egregious. But if we do, we'll have something in place.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing this information back, particularly with the parking. Before I ask my question, just want to, we want to put as much teeth into this as we can. This is why we're going through this exercise, and we have to. This is what we're trying to do with this. Now, we were talking about parking. What constitutes a parking violation?
Okay, great question. So, part of the application process is going to be identifying the parking for the home. They're going to submit that with their application. It's going to be reviewed by us. And like the ordinance states, no off-street parking, no grass parking. That does not mean that if somebody parks on the street and there's street parking allowed, that's going to be a violation. It's the quantity, the number of cars. Now, driving through Temple Terrace on any day of the week, we can spot those a mile away. We know when there's multiple cars parked out inside of a house, and we know what's going on there. Right now, again, there's nothing that we can really enforce as far as that goes. But if it's a 2-car driveway, we know that 2 cars can fit in that driveway. We're going to have the list. We're going to know as we go through, and we're looking for these different things. We're going to know who the responsible parties are. And that's going to be part of the training that my team receives, is in the list that our police officers receive. If we pull up to a house and there is 3 cars there, we will address it. And they say, oh, somebody's over for dinner. We're not trying to impact people's lives. Now, when we come back the next day and that car is still there, now at this point, we know that car stayed overnight. It's a violation. Our job is going to be to reduce nuisances and issues where people are parking around corners. If we know that there are more vehicles assigned to that house at any given time, that will be a violation until we can prove that that is like a short-term stay, maybe a family member's coming in. Well, again, we're not trying to impact people's lives or reduce the fun. What we're trying to do is make sure that the neighborhoods are consistent, that they're safe, and that they fit appropriately within the neighborhoods. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so you have a 4-car, 2-car garage, you park 4 cars in the driveway, and you got 5 cars there. That will be a violation, that 5th car in the street.
Once we are able to determine that that thing is staying there, that is part of the household. First thing we're going to do is we're going to call the responsible party, whether that's the property owner or the person that they have delegated. That person is going to have to answer for what's going on there. If they're unable to, they're going to contact those occupants, and then we're going to determine it that way.
Okay. All right, second question then deals with the actual structure itself. I know that the house next to the Oaks, and I have one on my street, okay? I truly believe that there has been work done in the past where they've subdivided bedrooms, and it's, when the owner's there, it's a rooming house. When the owner's gone, it's a VRBO, okay? Will our inspections be able to go in and say, okay, this is what the house is supposed to be, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, where did this 4th bedroom come from? Is it permitted, or has it been permitted? Will that become, that'll become obviously a health and safety issue as far as meeting code for all of that stuff, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's a violation. All right, now, are we going to be doing annual audits on these entities maintaining the tax exemptions or the proper Department of Professional Regulation, making sure that just the fact that keeping their LLCs up to date with the annual reports. Are we going to audit them on an annual basis?
We are. That's part of the going to be part of the renewal process, because the certificate of use is good for 1 year. The inspections are every 2 years. So when it comes time for renewal, we're going to look at all those things again and make sure that what they're reporting is still the same. We'll be able to compare apples and apples and see if this one matches what's here. If something's different, we know that something's changed. And by and large, for the most part, we believe people are doing the right thing, but we will find those that aren't. And at that time, we're going to address those.
I agree. There's probably just a small handful of no good nicks doing this. Okay, so let's take it to the ultimate conclusion. We have violations. You bring them to code board, and municipal code enforcement says, okay, you guys you've done this, and I don't know. I hope the fines are significant enough that it makes them a $50 fine is nothing. It's going to have to be a significant fine to make the individual say, well, maybe I ought not do this, and make sure that it gets rectified. And they don't pay. You can't take the property away. You can file a lien against it, but you can't make them not do what they're doing. What's going to be the final arbitrator? I mean, right now if we have a code enforcement issue, we can actually take it to county court. Okay, what's going to be the final arbiter of and methodology to ensure compliance?
So what we do have in our corner, when it comes to people that are just really pushing the envelope and trying to get over this ordinance, so we like I mentioned, we can contact the DBPR. I would say what it is, but I can't remember the whole acronym off the top of my head. At the state level, they would do an inspection, make a phone call, and put basically a stop order for renting that. At that point, we could also contact Airbnb or VRBO. Depending on the software that we choose, one of the aspects that we can tap into is they will do that on our behalf. So we have different avenues that we can approach to stop it until they become compliant again. Once they're compliant again, let's do this thing.
Okay, thank you. And again, I'm not challenging what you've done, I'm just making sure that we got enough teeth in it so
Yeah,
that
and
it accomplishes.
we have some other things that we're working on as well that are going to give us a little bit more that we can work with.
Thank you for your answers.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Sorry to ask this, but I'm a little bit confused on the parking again. So if you have a house and you've got the maximum number of cars that parking in the driveway that's allowed, and you have one car parked on the street in front of the front yard, and street parking is allowed in that neighborhood, is that car in violation?
Not necessarily. So this is where it's going to come down to our officers and what they're doing, going through, because they drive through the neighborhoods multiple times per day. They'll run through in the morning, there's no car there. They run through in the afternoon, there's a car there. Noted. They're going to call the responsible party, hey, we have an extra car there. They're going to call the people that are the occupants, determine what that car is doing there. Again, it's not to get anybody's business, but it's to maintain the neighborhood, make sure that the people that live there can function appropriately and are enjoying their lives. Once we get that resolved, move on. If it's determined that that person is just staying there, they determine they're going to come in and just be part of the family now, they're going to stay overnight. Now, at that point, it's going to be a violation. And at that point, we're going to go after the property owner with the MZEB.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? If there are no further questions, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of Temple Terrace, Florida, creating Division 3 of Article 4, Chapter 8 of the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances entitled Short-Term Rentals, providing definitions, establishing a certificate of use program for short-term rental properties, providing inspections of short-term rental properties to ensure consistency with the Florida Building Code and Florida Fire Prevention Code, providing for short-term rental property advertising requirements, providing provisions for the regulation of occupancy of short-term rental properties, providing parking regulations for short-term rental properties, providing for penalties for noncompliance, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances, which governs buildings and fire prevention, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion, council?
Yes. Move to approve on second reading of ordinance 1587, creating short-term rental requirements.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Fernandez. Is there discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Mr. Shanks. Next is a resolution approving a contract with Bandy's Construction Company, Inc. for an emergency operations center building at Fire Station Number 1, and our fire chief, the esteemed Ian Kemp, is here to explain.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ian Kemp, your fire chief. I'm presenting tonight a resolution approving the contract with Bandy's Construction Company for the construction of the city's Emergency Operations Center. In 2023, the City of Temple Terrace was awarded $4.5 million in state appropriation grant funding for the construction of a new Emergency Operations Center, Resolution 4124. Subsequently authorized the city to enter into an agreement with Applied Services Consulting to provide management services, including preparation for architectural design documents and technical specifications required for competitive solicitation. The new facility will include a hardened emergency operations center, fire administration offices, and a new fire and police communications center. On October 17th, 2025, the city issued a request for qualifications, RFQ, seeking qualified firms to provide building services for the hardened two-story facility. Multiple firms submitted responses following the evaluation of written proposals and 8 firm presentations. the city's selection committee issued a notice of intent to award the contract to Bandy's Construction Company Incorporated. This portion of the project was budgeted $6 million, and the bid received from Bandy's Construction came in under the budgeted amount. The bid package was reviewed by the city engineer and architect and myself and was deemed complete, meeting all project requirements. The proposed contract amount for Bandy's is $5,484,590. This project is funded through the combination of $4.5 million in state appropriations grant funding and $1.5 in city funds. Staff recommends the City Council approve a resolution awarding a contract with Bandy's Construction Company Incorporated for the Emergency Operations Center and authorizes the city manager to execute said contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
We do have Bandy's Construction here if anybody would like to speak to them as well.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions, council members?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez and Vice Mayor Schussler.
So with regard to the 4.5 million that was appropriated from the state, is there a deadline that this project must be started or completed or anything like that in order to retain the funds? Like, we don't have to give them back if we don't meet a deadline?
The project needs to be completed by February 28th of '27. Bandy's Construction realizes that and is under contract. Once they start, they have to have the project completed in a year process, in a year time. So we're anticipating it being, January. Hopefully we'll be done 30 days prior to, or sooner. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there is something in the contract, yes.
So, and just as I've informed council, under abundance of caution, we actually submitted a reallocation request to the legislature for this upcoming session. We were advised to do that by our government affairs consultant, just to basically reserve those dollars should we need them to go beyond February 28th of 2027.
So is this a situation where the state is going to reimburse the city after funds are expended?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, that was my question, because I thought I remembered seeing something where we had to we were going to reauthorize the 4.5. I wanted to make sure, is there any risk of that not being reauthorized?
Well, it's the legislature, so I
That's
can't
what-
speak to whether there's a risk of them doing something or another. My understanding, and Jim, correct me, this is reimbursable? This is a reimbursable award from the state. This is not we're not going to get the money all up front, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what we should be doing throughout this process is, as we make progress on a regular basis, we should be submitting for those reimbursements. So by the time we get 12 months into construction, we will have expended the vast majority of those dollars. And again, lessening any kind of risk potential. In the meantime, our understanding from our government affairs consultant is that this should be an easy decision on the part of the legislature. The legislators that have supported us in the past are still there as well, so we would hope that will continue to, and it'll be supportive, and this is hopefully just an administrative process to just ensure that those dollars, again, continue should we have the need. Hopefully we'll not have the need, and we'll get it all done in time.
Do we have a contingency plan? I mean, I don't need to be a wet blanket on it, because I'm looking forward to this being done. But we've seen stranger things happen sometimes.
We have. I guess if I could revisit this matter with you in a few months, then I could tell you whether we'll need a contingency plan or not. Right now, again, as I said, as we make progress, I think the one thing that I'm going to encourage the staff to do is make sure that we ask for those reimbursements, get those reimbursements processed. Again, we want the dollars coming in as soon as possible and not wait till the last minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Kravitz? Any other questions? Okay, if there are no further questions, council, is there a motion?
Move to approve the resolution approving a contract with Bandy's Construction Company, Inc. for Emergency Operations Center Building Services at Fire Station Number 1.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the motion.
Just had one brief comment.
Councilmember Kravitz.
bank error in your favor, I believe. So it's true what the chief said, 1.5 million was allocated from city funds. I'm just glancing here at the agenda packet. Of the 1.5 million, 984,950 are going to be needed. So this is 600,000 roughly under what we expected. Just want to bring that up. That's all I've got. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No nays. Resolution's adopted. Chief, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Next is council business. Our first item under council business is PBK Architect's presentation of conceptual renderings for possible public safety complex. Good evening. Thank you for your patience.
You're welcome. Good evening, Mayor, council members. We're pleased to be here. I'm Phil Trezza, Managing Principal with PBK. I manage our Tampa office. I'm here with my colleagues, Amy Bradlow. We're all architects here. Amy Bradlow and Ingrid Docken. Amy serves as the project manager, and Ingrid's the project architect. We've all been working together with Chief Kemp and Chief Staley to get to this point at this conceptual level. So I'll turn it over to Amy and Ingrid to make the presentation.
Thank you.
Do you have the presentation? There we go. I think that was the last slide. Go back, yeah.
Thank you. So the project's going to include both a new police station and potentially a new fire station. The police station is 3 stories, about 33,000 square feet. Fire station's about 10,000 square feet and a single story. The buildings can either be built together at the same time, or the police station can be built first and the fire station built later as the funds become available or the need is there. There's also room on the site for police and fire training elements. And also in the back corner, you'll see there's a vehicle storage building. That's for specialty vehicles owned by the police. The ground floor of the police department will have public lobby, records, evidence, patrol, and some holding cells. The second floor will have elements that are shared by both police and fire for training. So that'll be a training meeting room and fitness center. And then there's also some office space there for the police for crime prevention and training. And then the third floor will have administrative offices, the backup dispatch center, the detectives and SEU departments, and there's conference rooms on all levels as well. And then the fire department, the split here between the green is basically the living and office space, and the red is the apparatus space and fire support spaces. It'll be a 2-bay station, but both those apparatus bays are double length to accommodate multiple apparatus in each bay. Now Ingrid will talk about the options we have for the exterior appearance.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, so we've prepared two different styles for you all to review today. This first option that I'll show you here is more of a contemporary version of Mediterranean style, if you will, which consists of, as you can see from this view up above, has a mixture of like gable and hip roofs to speak to that Mediterranean style. What we're proposing here would be a roof material, like a metal roof that would emulate clay tile roofs.
We'd want to use the metal because that would be more resistant from storm debris, windborne storm debris.
Right. Sorry, I think I went to the second one. From this view, you can see like in this style, we would have more of like punch opening styles, like elongated windows. And then same style for both the fire station and police department. You can see the fire station here is on your left and the police department on the right. From this view would be like driving into the site, where you can see the right side there where the overhead doors are like would be the evidence room. So we would add some like ornament or to speak to that Mediterranean style in those areas where there's not much glazing opportunities. This next option would be of more contemporary style, speaking to, evolving technology, and with more like simplified roof forms. You have like low slope roofs in both buildings. In the fire station, we would have a low slope roof over the apparatus bay just to, speak the same language as the police department. Some of the materials in this one would be more contemporary materials like metal, stucco, would have maybe some brick forms. These are just some suggestions that we, are making in these views. Whereas the Mediterranean style would be a more along like white stucco with a bunch of openings. Again, this is the same view approaching the police department. As you can see, there's, more glazing, there's more of a visual connection to the outdoors with that contemporary version, as opposed to like the smaller openings. So here you could see side by side what those two options would look like. At the top, you have the Mediterranean style. At the bottom would be more of a contemporary style.
We
Any
welcome
questions?
any feedback you have and any questions you may have.
And we're hoping that we're going to get some direction from you tonight as to what your preferred style would be so that we can move forward, because these are still somewhat preliminary. They're conceptual level. As you saw, the plans are very diagrammatic, but we want to move forward with developing the design and producing even video, so that fly around video, so that could be used for building support for the project.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to comments, though, I want to ask the city manager a question. So when we started this discussion several years ago about the need for a police station and to get our police department off the third floor of City Hall for safety reasons and a lot of other reasons, we talked about buying or acquiring a piece of property that had ample space so that we could build a police department, and then if and when the need arose to build a third fire station, we would have enough room there to do that. We also, this council also talked about, when we're laying this out, we need to have a master plan so that we don't shoehorn a fire station in. We need to make sure that we have that in mind from the very beginning. But we've not ever had the discussion of we're building a fire station. And so did we skip a step, or is this just a placeholder for, because I don't know that this council's ever had a discussion about or established a need or they've seen any data or anything. So I just want to clarify the discussion. Are we talking about building the police side of this and sometime in the future the fire side, or what are we doing?
So if you recall, as we've been progressing since we acquired the property, you're absolutely correct. That was discussion at some point. We may have a future fire station. What I've said to the council all along is that it's not even so much the cost of the third fire station, not the construction cost, it's really going to be the operational costs. They're going to be something you really need to consider very seriously, because that's going to be an enormous number. And we want to make sure there's a demand for that. So I'm still working with Fire Chief Kemp on some analysis of that to determine if there truly is a demand now, and if there's a cost-benefit analysis done with that as well, because let's say you have to spend millions and millions of dollars to improve a response time by a minute or two. Is that really in the best interest of the community right now? So those are the calculations that we're still going through. When we retained the services of PBK and when we budgeted for this item, what we informed council at the time is we were going to ask to get multiple versions for the council's consideration, because we thought concurrently we'd be doing this analysis to figure out, again, is there a need for a third fire station at the state? It is without doubt we need the police station. So the police station is the priority. So in their review, what they've provided here is this is one concept that shows both on the site. When they get to the final product, they're going to show you another concept that just has a police station on the site and what the rest of the site could look like, with a space there for a third fire station at some point in the future if you wanted to do it that way as well. So that's still up in the air. We still have to bring you that information to the council as to whether, again, here's what we have in terms of response times, here's what we see for growth. in terms of annexation, where we might want to annex, which will drive some of this discussion. And I'll be honest, where we might want to annex may not be in the southeast part of the city. It may be other parts closer to Fowler and things like that, where we've got a little bit, probably more concentrated enclaves, actually. So that's where we are right now. So they're just doing what we tasked them to do, which is basically put some conceptual designs. Again, remember, the need for this was to help us educate the public over the next several months, should we go to general obligation bond, which is my recommendation to the city council. And that will require a vote a ballot initiative and a vote of our residents. So we want to be able to show them something so they have something to react to for that vote.
Okay, thank you. And so the expected outcome tonight is for us to kind of pick one of these designs and move it, to let them know.
That would be, yes, that, at a minimum, that's what we'd like, just pick one of the designs. So
Okay. Okay, very good. Council, what are your thoughts on the designs? Councilmember Kravitz?
Like, other people would go first.
Councilmember Chambers?
I like the modern.
I do too.
I like the modern, and it fits in with our new marketing plan moving forward to the future.
Yes, Councilmember.
I like the contemporary one better also, but I would like to know if there's a preference from the police department or the fire department. One has a lot more windows and.
Chief Staley?
Rob Staley, Chief of Police. Obviously, if this building was located more central to the redevelopment area, we'd have a different opinion about this, but I think the more modern look would be a good fit out there, especially considering the growth that's happened out there thus far and then what's coming in the future. I'm preferential to the more modern design.
And then for the architects, the design we're talking about right now is really just the facade. The square footage and the layout inside is the same, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Councilmember Kravitz?
I just have a question, if I may. The design that you've proposed would definitely be able to accommodate a fire station, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that, because keeping the Class 1 designation that we have is really important. We're going to need a fire station in 5 to 7 years anyway, at the absolute extremity of the time frame. We got increasing call volume, and the other point I'd make is staffing is the #1 criterion when they're looking at whether a fire department gets a Class 1 rating. So all of this put together shows that we're going to need that sooner rather than later, especially with our population increasing and our call volumes are up 5 to 7% per year, based on a news report that I found regarding this topic recently. And I also agree about the modern look. I think that's definitely the way to go there. It's got more light, so greater quality of life for the people who are in the building. And also the roof is probably a little bit simpler to maintain, so it might have lower ongoing costs. That's just my take as a real estate guy. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I too, I like the modern concept. It's it's cleaner and again, it's not near the redevelopment, so it's a newer area and it's, the houses out there are more modern. Would the next step, I want to word this properly, would the next step, or you need direction, include, is it just design at this point that you guys are going to do next, or what will be your next step? What are you going to come back to us with?
So, correct. Right now, we're under contract to do conceptual design to help with securing the funding through the bond referendum, so to give you all the information you need to pursue that. And then at some point in the future, we may be able to do the full complete design and construction documents for the bidding and permitting of the project.
So you're looking at us to come back with the modern versus the Mediterranean, and both one or both.
Well, what we're being asked to do tonight is just a design.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, if we're going to go do the design, are we going to be designing potentially for both so that we can know everything we need to, we can move forward with the geofinancing or geobonding?
I just want to be,
Sure.
be careful. So
yeah.
That's why I'm asking the question.
So again, the fundamental question tonight is, which architectural design do you prefer?
Okay.
That's really
That's it.
the basic question we have this evening, because that'll allow them to complete this project and move forward. We will, myself, administration, and city council, will have to have a conversation over the next several months as to what do we want to do now? Do we want to build, we know we want to build a police station. can we afford to build a fire station? Does it make sense to build a fire station? Does it make sense also, again, with the associated costs? That's a conversation we still haven't had yet, because we still need to review all that data internally ourselves to come up with an understanding of what that means for the city and its budget.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that what we were going to be doing tonight, I like the modern,
Yeah,
definitely.
seems like there's consensus on the
Yeah,
modern.
yeah.
Guys, Councilmember.
Well, I have a question that has to do with the timing of the furthering the discussion, so not about the facade.
Okay, well, but they're here for the facade.
Yes.
We have consensus on the modern, and I'm sensing that you guys like the modern also.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I kind of subtly picked up.
Looks good.
on that.
Yeah.
It looks
Okay.
nice.
Okay,
Looks nice.
very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other council business?
I have a
Councilmember Kravitz.
point to raise. Question for the city manager regarding the Centennial Committee. My read on the profit and loss account that was provided is that we had $133,269 dollars of revenue and $115,041 in expense, $115,041 of expenditure, which leaves us with $18,228 in the account of that committee. And that's my first question. My second question, which derives from that, is whether we could appropriate some of those funds that are apparently remaining in that account to do Christmas lighting this year.
So you are correct. As of yesterday, there is $18,228. There may be some limited outstanding invoices that I'm not aware of, but I don't believe it'd be a dramatic impact on that number. As to your second question, for lighting for this year, we're 9 days away from Christmas, so it would be a little challenging to probably do that. And I want to clarify too, that in this conversation, that somehow we've reduced holiday lighting. Since I've been here, we've not reduced any we haven't touched any holiday lighting or reduced holiday lighting. In fact, we've added some wreaths since I've been here. And I've spoken with people who have lived here in this community for many, many years. And they did indicate that years and years ago, there used to be more lighting, and then TECO came out with a policy on some of their poles that I think may have turned the tide at that point, from what I understand. So there hasn't been any reduction in what's been done. Now, of course, augmenting it, absolutely, we can look to augment if that's the direction of the council. I just don't want to build unrealistic expectations that we can get something done, turned around and put in the next several days. We still have to figure out what you'd like us to do. You know, what does that mean? What would you like to see? Or at least talk about it internally and then try and figure out what does it mean for how to get it in place when everybody still has other things to do. So that would be my concern for this year in terms of
Would it
timing.
be a Christmas miracle?
Yeah, you could say that.
If we have the $18,228 in that account, what would the fate of that money be if we didn't spend it?
Mayor.
So it would go, yes, my understanding is it would just roll back into once we sunset the committee and its expenditures, it will roll back into the general fund.
Okay.
Am I correct, Mr. Ingram?
Yes, we have that, as indicated in the report, we spent, I think it was around $25,000 in overtime, mostly overtime costs for these events, for mostly police and fire, some public works. We haven't charged that. That's not a part of the 115,000. So one of our discussions was that at the end of the day, if it's 18,000 or 15,000, whatever that net number is, we would apply a portion of that overtime expenditure that we've coded with the Centennial Project Code to use those funds. And then we would be balanced to zero at the end of before we sign it all off. Essentially, it would be the same as going back to the general fund, but it will show
that it went to pay for a portion of those overtime costs. At least that is the thinking right now.
Councilmember Chambers, as liaison, you had some,
Yes, I know the committee's still active. They have ongoing projects that they're gonna spend money for. The dedication of at least 2 more murals. It's not a lot, but there's some. So that 18,000 number won't be 18,000 when the committee ends. There's some promotion and book items that they're gonna be doing. I don't have a number on that, but the projects have been approved by the committee. So until the committee disbands, which I think may come for us in February or something, then we'll know the exact number without going to personnel. So I just want to let everybody know that 18,000 number will not be 18,000 at the end.
you still had the floor for your question.
I mean, I think it would be nice to have a discussion about whether we could do something to spruce up the city a little bit more toward the end of the year. Is anyone willing to kick that off?
Yeah, I mean, we moved here in 72, so I've been here a long time. And there were absolutely more decorations. There were larger installations in the front of Lightfoot. There were things in front of City Hall. There were things in front of the library that none of those really engaged the Tampa electric poles. And then there were up and down 56th Street, and these were on the Tampa electric poles, and they were, I guess, designed to look like the pipe streamer style of decoration. And I do remember that Tampa Electric changed their policy for allowing anything on their poles, but then I believe that we moved them off of the Tampa Electric poles and still had something similar to that on the other poles that we have available to us. And it seems like we would still own these decorations somewhere. And I know we've asked about it a few times. So my question is, one, are we able to put more in some places to at least increase what we have? And two, what do we need to do to prepare now for next year? Because I believe these things exist somewhere. And we
I might be
haven't,
able to land the plane here since.
we haven't pulled them, like, they're here somewhere, or,
I'm not trying to get ahead of you if you
Yeah.
have a question, but in light of the time also,
Yes.
I think there's general consensus that we could do better.
yes.
I think we've all heard from the public, and I don't think we're arguing with the criticism. I think the criticism that we've gotten from the public is generally fair criticism. I don't know about sending us to the Ethics Commission over it, but I think it's generally fair criticism. I think we could do better. So this is really, I would love to do something now, but it's difficult with 6 days left. I mean, it's almost impossible, but I suggest that this is very fixable for next year. All we have to do is make sure that we bring it up during the goal setting in the spring for the budget. And that in the meantime, that gives staff a chance to go through, dig around, see what we have that's old that's still good, or get rid of what's old that's no good. And we come up with some suggestions about what an appropriate amount in the budget would be. And we program it in the budget for next year, and next year we do better. I think we would all agree to that, council member.
I'm just curious, do you think there would be enough support here to instruct staff to look into developing a plan for that in advance of it coming up in goal setting? Maybe we get the ball rolling now and get a report in 2 or 3 months about how the decorations might be developed in the future?
I'm quite comfortable that what I just said, Councilmember Bayia and our staff is going to produce, I don't think we need
Goal
to tell them.
setting's in 3 months, so, you know, it's.
I mean, I have a lot of faith in our staff. I don't think they need to be,
Whether we direct them in goal setting or direct them now isn't really relevant.
what do you want to do, Councilmember? You want to make a motion?
I'd be happy to make a motion. I'm just curious if anyone here would like to support it before I do it.
I think we've already done that.
We've done that, and
done it.
if you want to make a motion, I can support it, but I still want to make my comments at some point.
Go ahead.
Even though I know we've landed the plane, but I'm taxiing.
It's not that complicated.
It's not.
It
It's
really
not.
isn't.
No, it's not. And I think the staff heard us loud and clear. I don't think we need a motion. And I agree with all that, but I had to make a comment. None of us ever took money out of our budget to support the Centennial Committee out of the Christmas lighting, because that was an accusation, so I want to make that clear. You know, we never did that. So the Centennial money was different than that. I don't think we have any less lighting this year than we had last year, because we didn't have any last year. Years ago, Councilmember Fernandez is correct, it was on the poles. The TICO poles have been gone for a long time. The city at one time did retrofit every building, the family complex, Lightfoot, Public Works, City Hall, with outdoor outlets. So there were displays at every building. I don't know what happened to all those displays. I know what where the electric is at the family complex in Lightfoot, but I don't know the. So that would be easy to do for next year. I don't know if you can do anything this year. So I think all this is very doable, and we should do it. Now I'm done.
He wants to make a motion, Vice Mayor.
No, I don't plan to interrupt anyone.
Obviously, it doesn't really matter, so let's go ahead and just,
Yeah, it doesn't
you know,
matter. We all want to do it, so let's.
I've lived here a long time, and yes, we don't have as much lighting as we did in the past, okay? And yes, they were on TICO poles. TICO made us take them down. We were able to get the shopping centers and so forth to do more. We can't make them do this. We can't make all the shopping centers do what we want them to do. We don't have that power or authority. So, and I'm sure that unless it was stored in a climate-controlled facility, those decorations from 10, 15 years ago are gone, rotten, or non-functional. So yes, I agree. There's no way it can be done for this year. Unfortunately, it's sorry. We just had a massive winter wonderland that encompassed at least half the city in geography with the golf cart parade and the fireworks and everything else. So, I mean, it's not like we ignored Christmas this year. We definitely did not do that. So, you know, nobody's done anything nefarious. Nobody's done anything wrong or malfeasant. So we've instructed staff. We've let staff know this is what we want. I don't see the need for a motion to do this. I'm sure that they're going to come back and present to us a goal setting of what we want to do and what we want to accomplish for next year. That's all I had to say.
Councilmember?
I think it would be wise to make a motion now, at least just to give people the indication that we're taking it seriously and moving it forward as quickly as we can. So I'll make a motion that we instruct the city manager to explore increasing holiday lighting over the amount used this year for 2026, and that we. Sorry, what?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, no, if you got any input, I'll take it.
No, I said I was going to second. I thought you paused to stop, and I was.
I was just going to say that we should receive some guidance with him, from him on that within no longer than 6 months. So.
The 6 months. I'll second.
I have a request. Can we change lighting, the word lighting, to decorations?
Yeah, lighting and decorations. Sure. Motion. I'll withdraw my previous one and
I'll do that second.
accordingly. There we go. So.
Just because.
Okay, Mayor.
Discussion on the motion. I find this totally insulting. We have the best professional city staff of 411 cities in this state, and we feel the need to make a motion and give them a timeline of exactly what we want them to do for Christmas decorations. Do you not have any confidence in this man and his staff? He doesn't operate his staff this way. He doesn't go to his directors and give them a mandate and give them like Friday at 10:30, I need an answer to this, and this is what the answer is going to be. We have goal setting every year. Every one of us gets a chance to say, hey, we need to program 20, 30, whatever it is. We do need a little guidance from them. We asked them to give it to us. I think they would have done it. But now we hijack every opportunity so that we can take credit for everything they do. So even when they come back with a terrific product, we can say, oh, well, we did that. We're the ones that made the motion and ordered them to do it. Look how good the food truck thing turned out because we made them do it. They wouldn't have done a good job unless we made them. How insulting. And some of these people work their tails off to put on Winter Wonderland for us to act like this is Scroogeville. Like people coming up, oh, we haven't done anything. It's so depressing. We haven't done. Winter Wonderland had thousands of people there. We had a tree lighting, we had Santa Claus, we had all that. Now, could we do better with the decorations? Yeah, we all agree. But we are micromanaging our staff. If I were them, I'd be insulted that we're doing this. So I'll vote no, not because I don't like Christmas decorations. I'll vote no because these people are the best you can get. We don't need to treat them like children. Yes, Councilmember.
Okay, so my thought in this process is that this has nothing to do with a vote of confidence on the staff or not. This is a response to the community who has requested last year and this year for an increase in decorations that we didn't produce. And this is, to me, a way to show the community that we have heard them and that we are responding to them. And that's all of my intention.
We've done that discussion.
I've just got to say it. So I agree with you, Mayor, but I seconded the motion because I want to go home and it would have.
Well, here we are 20 minutes later talking about Christmas wreaths.
Yeah. The staff did hear us, and I said that before the motion was made, and I get it.
Just
So,
briefly, the legal mechanism is that staff can't do anything unless we authorize them. That's all this is. It's not a vote of confidence. I'm sure they'll do great.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Ridiculous. Okay, we're still on council business. Is
I have
there
one item.
Councilmember Fernandez.
And I did ask the city manager about this previously, and that is, for those of you who use the Spectrum app versus watching Spectrum on TV, the city council, the channel that our meetings are broadcast on, was not showing up on the app. So that's an issue because I guess a lot of people are dropping cable and using the app, and I just wanted to follow up and see if the city manager had any information about making it available on the app.
Certainly. So Councilmember is correct. So we learned that Spectrum now moving, as you said, a lot of these traditional box cable companies are moving to streaming. And Spectrum has made the decision in their streaming platform, they're no longer going to carry the same channel lineup for 641, which was the channel for the city. So they're not doing that there. The city attorney and I have talked about it, as well as some of the staff. We're trying to see if the franchise fee agreements were changed several years ago in the state of Florida, from what I understand. So they tried to make this, I believe, more streamlined across the state for these cable providers. So we have to see what rights we have to be able to pressure them, if we can, any kind of legal pressure to apply to, in essence, force them to provide it on the streaming platform. On the cable box, they had to. So now that they're moving, they're pushing the boundaries in one extent, so we have to figure out legal rights on our end, and that's something we don't have an answer to just yet.
Okay, thank you.
Other council business? Okay. New business or board reports?
I do have an item.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So I was at the Cultural Assets Committee meeting for Hillsborough County, and the subject came up of performing arts space, and this is not something that I expect any decision or even discussion about tonight, but I wanted to put it out there for people to be thinking about, and that is the new Tampa performing arts space is beyond capacity. They are turning people away routinely for rehearsal space and performance space because they're booked. And I did ask what they thought, where a location for a new performing arts center might be a good location, and Temple Terrace was definitely an area, depending on where something were to be built in the city, that might take that overflow and become a very heavily utilized space. So it's not anything that we're gonna decide right now, but I wanted to pass that along, that there is an opportunity for potential in the city that would be another space that would be activated and used by a wider community. That's it.
Other council business, or new business board reports? Okay, Mr. B, are you going to talk about Mr. Rhodes and the sign that he discussed during public comment? Are you going to talk about that during your report? Yeah, if you are, I won't bring it up now,
I
but,
was not planning to, but
okay.
I think this is more of an issue that concerns the city attorney in terms of.
Okay, can you just give us something, if you know?
Well, in looking at it, concern is with any sign ordinance, or,
Microphone.
Thought I turned it on, sorry about that, is the concern of the free speech rights of people on their private property versus our being able to regulate what they say. At this point, we are in determining and looking at what the sign says, we don't feel that it is running afoul of our code at this time.
Okay. And I'm sure staff has spoken with Mr. Rhodes about this.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under new business or board reports?
I don't want to belabor this issue, but this is the first time I'm hearing anything about that particular sign it being an issue. I don't know, I felt a little blindsided by it because I really didn't know what the circumstances were, what we've done. Something like that, maybe we could be appraised of the issue going forward. I'm not going to make a motion. You hear what we're talking about. If it's at all possible, something that volatile, if we could just be made aware of it in some capacity. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, city manager report.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, I have a question for you.
I
Sorry.
was almost there.
It's a short question, but it does pertain to Fire Station 3. And I just wanted to know, we are not making a decision tonight, and we're not discussing tonight the validity of moving forward at the same time as the police station, and none of that is up for discussion tonight, but I would like to know when we would be talking about the data that you're compiling, and when we will be discussing the reasonableness of the timing of that fire station and building them separately, building them together, because when we go out for a general obligation bond, which seems to be one of the ways that we would fund this, we're going to need to know, one, what to ask for, and two, if we know the full project cost, we ask for the full project in the bond obligation, but then we don't have to take all of it at once. We could take it in increments, but that's going to all be part of the discussion, and so we're going to need to know a lot about the timing for that fire station.
Correct. So in the last week, I've just received the data from the fire department over the last week, initial data draft that I'm looking at right now in terms of the supporting justification for the third fire station. These are conversations I'm going to have with the fire chief, the assistant city manager as well. We're looking at all of that. You are correct. We need also because time is quickly going by. Yeah. So I would imagine that we will be, before you having this conversation, I wouldn't be surprised if we do it either in January or February at the latest to help you understand the issue, and then you have to make a decision and direct us. And then from that point is, if you remember, bond counsel has spoke with us over the summer. Then there's a series of steps we have to do. There'll be a resolution the council will have to approve, basically moving forward towards a ballot question. Bond counsel will help us with that. We also will have to determine, glad you brought it up into this issue, because we're going to have to determine strategically which ballot you want to be on. I think initially we were thinking about the general election in November, but with this flux right now, these 8 potential proposals in the legislature, all dealing with property taxes, that will make for a very convoluted ballot if all of those, were on there. So we may want to consider being on the primary ballot. That's what the bond council also advised in the summer. Just, think about it strategically, what would make most sense for our issue to get the most traction for consideration by the public. So those are the things we're hoping to flesh out over the next couple of months. And we'll be here in council discussing them.
Okay, thank you.
City Attorney's report.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Any other business to come before the council tonight?
Thank you,
If not,
guys.
we will stand adjourned.